Hello, Lund loyalists. John Lund Unleashed YouTubers, those watching on X and Instagram and listening on Apple or Spotify. Please make sure to subscribe, like and turn on your alerts so you never miss a show. And for all things Unleashed, go to johnlundunleashed.com. Live shows, archives, the blog, social media links, and more. Now, brought to you by the 𝐬𝐝𝐿 Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center, here's Johnny. Here's Johnny. Here's Johnny. Here's Johnny. Here's Johnny.
Yes, thanks for joining us on a hump day edition of the show. Wednesday. You see Brock Purdy low first offer. How could it be? Shaq wants to have the Curry combo, and nope. That's Davante Adams as a Jet. It's 2025. It's not 2024. 2024 was the year of the wide receiver. 2025 is undoing the year of the wide receiver and remembering the championships were won on the inside, not on the outside. We shall discuss. Adam Schefter says there's a fire sale going on with the 49ers. I got Steve Young still from yesterday on the 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐢𝐻𝐿 show, which I want to replay for you because it's even more relevant today. And Steph Curry at MSG is awesome. And the Warriors might just be legit. Plus, I got an update from spring training in Scottsdale for the Giants. Tons of different stuff. A sweet, clean, family-friendly caboose pistol that you need to participate in today. It is a wonderful episode 77. Thank you for making the time for our show. And I have a couple of announcements that we have to make before we get to things. But if you are new around here, thank you for making the time. There's a lot of ways that you can be entertained. 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. We do it right here until whenever we're done. And today it might take a while. We got a ton of stuff to do today. And I have nowhere to be. Monday and Tuesday I had stuff going on. Nowhere to be today, so we can go as long as you want today, and a lot of things to get to, as you can see there on the chalkboard. The chalkboard is the way we go. We try to keep things on the chalkboard, but then as happens, random things happen throughout. I look at the comment line. All of our good friends, I'm going to take roll call in a minute, and they throw me, and they know they can throw me left, right, and all over the place. So let me do a couple of quick things. As you heard the announcer lady say, 𝐬𝐝𝐿 is the sponsor, Cosmetic Surgery Center, and they are awesome. And not only do they do all those kind of things that you would expect, but as I tell you about all the time, I'm doing the testosterone right now. And if you're a guy and you're feeling sluggish and you're not in shape and things are going on and you're like, oh, bro, what's going on? Testosterone is going to work for you. It works for me. It is awesome. And the best part about it with 𝐬𝐝𝐿, and you can click right on the QR code there and get yourself an appointment right now, is that you will feel great and you're not going in for weekly shots. It's just one fell swoop. It's very reasonable, a lot more reasonable than you think it is. So I'm doing testosterone with Dr. 𝐬𝐝𝐿 right now, and it is working great. And then as I tell you every single day, my wife is doing stem cell. You hear a ton about stem cell. The heck is it? Well, I know this for her shoulder and her elbow. And I keep saying I'm going to take a picture of our freezer outside, which is just full of contraptions to make her feel better, that she ices herself. She hasn't had to use those things nearly as much because the stem cell is absolutely awesome. So all you got to do is click on that QR code right there with Dr. 𝐬𝐝𝐿, and you can get yourself an appointment. Could be testosterone, which is what I'm doing. Could be stem cell of any part of your body to make yourself feel better. So right now, just click on that QR code. And then Dr. 𝐬𝐝𝐿 does all sorts of great stuff. Any of the things you would expect a great cosmetic surgeon to do, that's what Dr. 𝐬𝐝𝐿 does. So tell him I sent you over. Absolutely great guy. Been using him for years, and he and the whole crew over at 𝐬𝐝𝐿 Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center, they're in San Ramon. But I'm telling you, especially when it comes to the two things that I just talked about, stem cell and the testosterone, there's nowhere better. And I've been all over the place in this stuff. And like I said, I've done it with a couple of different companies. Absolutely great, quick, very, like I said, it's a lot less than you think it's going to be. So check out Dr. 𝐬𝐝𝐿 and the Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center there. All right, another cool thing that is going on today. I want to pop this up because the press conference went out today, and I've been telling you about it for a number of days. And they're like, Lund, like I always do, you jumped the gun. Stop it. Don't do that. Oh, let me do one thing real quick because I didn't do something. Hold on really quickly. We went live on one of my places that I say I'm live on, and I wasn't. I forgot. But anyway, they told me that I jumped the gun. Lund, stop talking about it. It's not ready to go. We haven't sent out the PR piece on it, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, it is live and going. And that is from my good friend, Jason Barrett back in New York. The Bay Area has a new sports podcast network, features, that's Tom Tolbert, me, and Polly's Pod, of course, Polly and Crow Media, which is Jeremiah Crow heading it up. Anyway, there you go. So check it out, Bay Area Sports Collective. We are on, in fact, I have another QR code for you. You can click that, but we're going to be adding shows. But there you go, my show, Tom's show, Polly's show, to start everything off, Bay Area Sports Collective, so you can get us all in one place, which is really, really cool. So check that out. And I think so that's official now. I've been telling you about it. I'm like, hey, go check it out. And then they're like, hey, don't do that. Yeah, there's a QR code right there. So if you want to real quickly just, there's the logo. If you want to real quickly just click on that with your phone, then you can subscribe there too, and you don't even have to leave the show. So Bay Area Sports Collective, it's another place to get all of our shows. Please also subscribe right here if you're not, John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, and get the alerts on and all those kind of things like we say every single day. But that's Bay Area Sports Collective. Click on that, and you can give that a subscribe right now. My show's on there, Tommy's show's on there, and Polly as well, and we'll be what they call cross-pollinating on all the shows. So make sure that you check that out. All right, a lot to get to today. Let's do it before we do roll call. Good morning on this Wednesday morning, 6 minutes into the show, episode 77. So if you're new around here, welcome. Please, if you're listening, and do it however you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if you're watching on Instagram, if you're watching on X, that's at John Lund Radio. If you're on Twitch, if you're watching on Bay Area Sports Collective on YouTube, John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, Facebook, John Lund, any of those places, migrate on over to our chat line and check it out and say hello to everybody. Everybody's really, really cool. We have developed a great community that's growing every single day. I think we have over 3,500 subscribers, and we've only been doing this a few months. So everybody's rocking and rolling, and we really appreciate it. So migrate over to John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Please subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button so that the algorithm will like us, and keep your alerts on, because this is not the only show we do all day. We put all sorts of shorts up during the day. I write on a blog at johnlundunleashed.com and release things. I'm in the midst of writing a piece right now that talks about 2024 being the year of the receiver, and then NFL teams waking up and going, oh, Philly won in the trenches. It's not about receivers. It's about the inside, not the outside. And I know they have good receivers on Philadelphia's team. I'm not saying that. It's just what's happening in the league right now is they're undoing the year of the wide receiver, realizing that the leverage of the position doesn't exist. Quarterbacks, yeah, there's not enough of them. They got tons of leverage, and we're going to talk about Brock's first offer. And I'm just amazed about how many people don't understand what negotiations are like. But okay, I'll remind everyone. Got a ton to talk about with Adam Schefter and so forth, but we got to start with the Warriors. So if you look at episode 77 there, Golden State at NYK, that's Knicks. What did we learn last night? Maybe that the Warriors are legit. The Curry talk, and Shaq went there last night, so I'm going to play it for you. Is that legit talk? Do we need to have that talk? We know it around here. 49ers, Adam Schefter is suggesting a fire sale. I think he's wrong. I'm going to click something up on the screen that's going to prove my point, and you don't have to agree. That's what it's like around here, whatever you want. Losing BA, that's Brandon Ayuk, doesn't help. I'm laughing at all these people again. I want to just straighten everybody out. If they're going to trade Brandon Ayuk, we're going to get deeper into this. It's because they're pissed off about the contract that they ultimately had to give him. And I just don't think the market is out there, but we will talk. Devontae Adams was on the cover today. That's him on the right as a former Jet. He had a $38 million cap hit. That was not going to work, especially when his buddy Aaron Rodgers left town. Lots of people, hey, he went to Fresno State. He wants to get back to the West Coast. I think I know where Devontae Adams is going, and it's not in 49ers red and gold, so we shall discuss. Undoing the wide receivers, that's the piece I'm writing. Jed is mad. I'll replay that yesterday from Steve Young. Quickly about the Giants spring so far, we're getting into that lull area of spring where it's like, okay, a little bit early in March, let's go. I mean, it's, our guys going. There's one name in particular that's crushing it that people think could be a member of the starting rotation, and I would have no problem with that whatsoever if one scenario comes about. So we'll talk about that at some point. And there's a story, Sweet Clean Family Friendly Caboose Pistol, about peeing in the shower. So we shall discuss all of that. Let's do some roll call. Say good morning to the whole crew. If you're on John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, you can see all these names. Jeff got beat, man. Jeff was at 6:16 a.m. Baba Booey. He was there about 11, 12 p.m. Well, last night, because I set these things early now. So you were there way early. That's not fair. Well, I guess it was. Tacky, it's good morning good to see you. Hi, Mick. Excellent to see you, my friend. Excellent. Skills is one of my favorites. He's here. Pine is here. Hurley is here. Skills, you haven't had a dream in a long time. What's going on here? Top of the morning to you, Franco. Very, very nice. I like it. John Holmes, don't be afraid. Just stand back. John Holmes is here. Lindbergh is here to good morning as well. Sports Girl for Life is here. Always like to say hello to you in the morning. Jesus is here. Vernon is here. Kyle, who I got something from you, Kyle, behind the scenes, and I'll get back to you. I'm sorry I was late yesterday. Daniel, good morning. AJ, hello. Gabriel, good morning. I will talk about this. This just caught my eye. By the way, not to jump ahead because we try to keep the chalkboard in order or else it becomes complete anarchy around here. But this is why free agency is so stupid. Remember I tell you about everybody's, free agency is flawed and you don't want to go into free agency. You want to draft, develop, sign your own. This is why. Because like you said, I read the same piece that you did, Gabriel, and they're saying Aaron Banks is worth $18 to $20 million a year. Somebody's going to be very, very, very disappointed. Oh my gosh, we got a guard for $20 million. He must be great. Okay. Sure he is. It's just free agency is just, you want to delve into it second, third day, and get some bargain pieces. But when you're out there running around on the first day of free agency, damn, man, I'm telling you right now. What's up, Ricky? That's an avatar, man. That would scare me in the middle of the night. I'll tell you that right now. All right, let's do it. Yeah, 59. Let's start Warriors today. We've been starting so much. By the way, is that a new avatar? I like it, bro. We've been talking so much about the Niners, and we will today because there is just a boatload of things around the 49ers, from Brock's deal to everybody talking about Davante Adams. And they're trying to get cheaper and younger at the position. Let's get Davante Adams, who's 32, and acting every bit of it. Too much Taco Bell, bro, in your house. Versus Brandon Ayuk coming back from an injury, but he's 27. And you think that Davante Adams thinks he's at the end of his career and thinks he's going to give you a discount, and it's not a hometown discount. Bay Area. I get it. He's from Palo Alto. I understand that. He's not giving you a hometown discount. He's not. The Niners went 6-11 last year. I don't mean to be negative, but my gosh, man, everybody's acting like, whoa, hang on. I got to do something here. This is where I missed you. Sorry, I was flying right by, and I'm sorry. Let's acknowledge Joy, by the way. Joy is amazing. I ask her lots of questions all the time because, by the way, here's one thing, and let's leave that up there because if I missed Joy yesterday, my eyes are giving me a problem. One thing I always like to do on the show, so you can tell me this behind the scenes. You can shoot me an email, john@johnlundradio.com. Hit me up on the context part of johnlundunleashed.com, where we archive the shows and we archive the podcast. And there's a blog up there that I write on every single day. And there's tons of stuff, social media links. johnlundunleashed.com is where all that stuff is. But yeah, if I miss Joy on a given day, then we got all sorts of trouble on our hands. So let's not do that. All right, let's do this. Let's get going. But we owe the Warriors, I guess is what I'm saying. Let's start with the Warriors because they just might be legit. Oh, I know what I was saying. If you're an expert in any one area, will you email me behind the scenes? Like if you're a doctor or a lawyer, I don't care. Your expertise could be Rubik's Cube. I like having experts on the show so that when I have an issue, because I go to Joy, and I hope this is not sexist, but like the other day, Ariana Grande had that I don't know what that dress was at the Oscars. And so I didn't know if Joy was in the room. And I just said, hey, is Joy here? Can she look at this? Like we all could have an opinion on it. It's just as guys, we're not really good as far as dressing is concerned. Generally, most guys are not. So I just thought that she would be someone that I would ask. So I hope that's okay. All right, let's get to it. The Warriors at the Knicks. Let me pop this box score up on the screen real quick, but that's not really the story. I got a couple of great cuts for you from Steph Curry, and I think it's really worthwhile to listen to what Steph had to say. But there's your box right up on your screen right there. Now, if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, I'll try to make this make sense for you without any visual effects. Jimmy Butler is changing this team completely. You can see there in almost 35 minutes, 6 of 12. But here's the thing, 7 of 9 from the free throw line. And we said this early in his tenure, you could tell. He only took a few three-point shots. That's just not what Jimmy does. But what he does do is if they're in a slump, if things are going a little bit sideways offensively, he'll get to the free throw line. He's not going to settle for some jumper. He's a mid-range guy, but then he'll get to the rim. And it's funny watching the local broadcast because from complaining about other teams getting to the line to embracing what Jimmy does in getting to the line, but it's just such a great skill. But the one thing I guess I didn't know when we've watched Jimmy Butler all these years, and we think we know, but we don't know until a guy's on our team, on our local team, and we watch him day in and day out, it's the subtle things. Like people don't appreciate if you're not a Warriors fan, and I'm not the biggest Draymond Green fan at times, especially off the floor, but you cannot deny Draymond Green's basketball IQ, the way that he plays the game. Everyone laughs. Like last night, he had a triple single. Okay. 8 points, 8 assists, 9 boards. That's a pretty good game. And Draymond Green was really, really good last night. So you look at what Draymond Green does, and you don't really appreciate it until you see it game in and game out. And Steph Curry is obvious. I mean, it's Steph Curry. You don't even have to be a basketball fan. You just know he's the great entertainer. He's incredible. Last night, as you can see on the board there, 28 points. He was awesome. But Jimmy Butler, now that you watch him game in and game out, he's as smart as Draymond. He makes all the right plays. He knows how to play with Steph. You know, all these young players who come in, and we get mad at Steve Kerr because he doesn't play the young players enough, and they struggle to play with Steph Curry. In the post game last night, Jimmy Butler talked about the spacing of the floor and the tilting of the floor, and so much attention is paid to Steph. And he completely explained the whole situation with Steph Curry and how you play with him and what you do. And it's just like it's an adult in the room. And I don't know how deep the Warriors are going to go in the playoffs. I need a little bit more time. I know I have a daily talk show that's like, tell us. You can't have a I don't know opinion. That's the worst thing you can do in this business. I don't know. And I'm not one to say, give me a little bit more time. But on Jimmy Butler, I can just say this for the Warriors. I think they're legit. I think they're going to scare anybody in the Western Conference, but I don't know how deep they can go. Now, that was a nice win last night. Karl-Anthony Towns didn't play. I really don't care. I think it's the best win they've had since Jimmy Butler's there. So there's your box score. It doesn't tell you the whole thing. What I want to discuss as far as the Warriors are concerned, to just top everything off, and then we'll get into Steph Curry talk, and we talk about this all the time. What superlatives are left to say about Steph Curry? Well, there's still more at MSG. He's just one of those guys that shows up at that building and is just awesome. I think his career record there is like 12-1, something like that. But let me stop here just for a second at Golden State, GS at NYK, learn. What did we learn? And I think what we're learning is Jimmy Butler has seamlessly in 10 games, I know, but this is all we have to go on, all right? So we have to say something, or at least I do. So we're 11 games with him, 10 that he's played in, 9-1 him playing, 9-2 since they got Jimmy Butler. It's not fair to, he didn't play in the one game that they lost. So they're 9-1 in his 10 games. I get it. There's 82 games in a season. There's hopefully 16 playoff wins that you get to win a championship. I'm not ready to put them in that realm. In fact, let me pop this up for you just because this will make a lot more sense if I just show you the teams around them, and then we can discuss it. And you know the teams around them, but I'm just going to pop it up anyway just for easy reference. So Oklahoma City, could they beat them in a series? Yeah. The Lakers looking really good. Nuggets, that would be the 6-3 matchup. And I told you, if they got to the 6, I thought they would be a threat. Didn't have to play in the play-in game. I think they'd be a threat. Don't love the first-round matchup as of this very moment, but we'll just see. We'll just have to see what's going on. There's 20 games, by the way, left in the season. So I'm going to call this down the stretch they come. It's just the 20 games is down the stretch. We're into March. The season ends in the middle of April, so we're at a 6-week sprint here to see where the Warriors can be. They could even catch the Rockets for the 5. It would be crazy with 20 games left to think they could catch Memphis. But look at Memphis, 3-7 in their last 10. So they've gained on the far right there, see L10, the last 10. So they've gained 5 games on Memphis in the last 10 games. They've gained 3 on the Rockets. So it's not ill-conceived that they could get up as high as 4, which would be crazy. Now, 4 would mean Oklahoma City in the first round. Don't love it. But I've said this all season long. The young teams, the Rockets, the Grizzlies, even the Thunder, as good as they are, and SHAQ'S Gilgeous-Alexander is going to learn one thing, the difference between the playoffs and the regular season, and he deserves it. Somebody hit me up behind the scenes the other day, and they're like, SHAQ'S Gilgeous, he wouldn't be any good. He drives to the rim 20 times a game. The Warriors as a team, before Jimmy Butler, were going to the rim 27 times as a team. And SHAQ'S Gilgeous-Alexander goes 20, but the difference in the playoffs is you don't get as many of those calls. Now, maybe he will. because he might be the MVP this year. Maybe he will in the playoffs, but it tends to be in the playoffs that you don't get as much. So if the Warriors went into Oklahoma City for the sake of conversation, this is just hypothetical all the way. They get up to the 4 seed. Grizzlies are struggling. Rockets haven't been great. They get up to the 4 seed. They could do it in the last 20 games. It'd be tough, but they could do it. And they take on Oklahoma City in the first round. Usually you want to get the better teams early because once they get rolling, Jordan's teams are like this. They would be good in early rounds. Late in rounds, they were just killers. They just get going. They get the playoff feel to everything. But Oklahoma City's young. Memphis is young. Houston is young. I think they could do that. But then also what it becomes is the gauntlet of series after series after series. And Denver is a problem. And the Lakers are a problem because they have the experience. So if they get beat, if the Lakers got beat in game 1, if the Nuggets got beat in game 1, they're not going to panic. If the Warriors went in and punched the Grizzlies in the mouth in a game 1 in Memphis, it's a young team. So I'm not saying that they are going to win the Western Conference. What I am saying is now that they're in the 6th spot and the way that Jimmy Butler is fitting onto this team and Steph Curry in age 37 is defying age, is telling, hey, father time. Sorry, not happening. Draymond Green's playing some of his best basketball. The only question with the Warriors, and I don't know if Jonathan Kuminga's ankle fell off. I don't know if he had to go to Germany. I don't know. I have no idea. Dude's been out forever. And when you're 22, I said this story yesterday. Like, you bounce back from everything. Like, you fall, you do this. When I was young, I was very active. Played all the sports, all that kind of, like, it must have been nasty, because it's been a couple of months. So how does Jonathan Kuminga get folded back into this whole thing? He's going to come off the bench. I believe he's going to come off the bench just because Butler's not a three-point shooter. Draymond's not a three-point shooter. Kuminga's not really a three-point shooter. I mean, he can't shoot it. He will shoot it, but he's not really a threat. Teams will go right ahead. So now you have 3 non-shooters in today's NBA, and I just don't see that. 3 non-long-range shooters in today's NBA. I don't see it. So I would think Moody would continue to start, bring Kuminga off the bench. That's a positive to me, as long as they can sit down with JK. And I know he wants a new deal and all those kind of things, and his agent's probably in his ear going, oh, you got to start. It's like, chill, dude. It'll be fine. So what I know right now, which is only 10 games with Jimmy Butler, 11 since he got here, 9-2, 9-1 with Jimmy. The best I can say right now, and then we'll continue this conversation, stick a pin in it and say they're a threat. They're a true threat in the Western Conference. And before Jimmy Butler got here, there's no way you could say that. You could hope that. You could dream that. You could lie to yourself and think that. The Warriors maybe did. But Jimmy Butler has fit onto the Warriors at least through 10 games as well and as fast as you could have ever imagined. Because this difficulty of playing with Steph Curry, there's a difficulty, I think, in playing with LeBron James because he's such a dominant ball handler that he's got the ball in his hands all the time. So it kind of rotates around him. With Steph, it's just kind of not like that. Steph has the ball in his hands a lot and this and that, but he makes it easier and there's not an ego thing and I don't have to have the ball and they just want to win. And I think there's a comfortable nature in that I'm sure that when he got here, Steph Curry sat down and said, bro, I just want to win. And he means it. So if you score, if I score, if this, if that, I'll put this as the only caveat, and then we're going to hear from Steph Curry and what Shaq said yesterday is really interesting because I guess I never really thought of it. So stay for a second if you're thinking, I got to go. You got to hear the Shaq thing. But in terms of Jimmy Butler just fitting in, it's been pretty amazing. And so there's no way before Jimmy, I thought this team was probably, 9th, 10th, another play-in loss. Steph Curry's going to ask for it. This is how dramatic it's been. I thought the way that they were going and the trajectory that they were was they're going to be a 10 or a 9. They're going to get knocked out. Same thing as last year. And Steph Curry, look, this isn't me. This is Steph. Steph was just saying, I don't want to be in a mediocre basketball team. I don't want to be in a bad team. I'm not going to lose. He was just kind of giving us those subtle hints that in the offseason, I'm out of here. I'm sorry. The Bay will always be my home, but nah, I'm not going to be on a mediocre basketball team. It's just not what I want to do. And I think in the offseason, pre-Jimmy, he was going to ask for a trade. I think he was going to be like, look, I love it here. This will be my home. I'll come back. I'll be part of the Warriors, but this isn't how I'm going to end my career. I want to win. So that's how quickly to me that it's flipped from you go for a team that I think, and you can give me your thoughts, and I'll hit it up on the chat line in just a second. But this team went from 9th, 10th place out in the play-in game again. I said first round before. It's not first round. It's play-in. Out in the play-in to then a team that you look at the Western Conference, and the problem to me is the gauntlet because of their age. It's not that they can't win a single series against anybody. Could they beat Denver? Yeah. Could they beat the Lakers? Yeah. Could they beat OKC? Yes. Could they beat Memphis? Yes. Could they beat Houston? Yes. Can they beat them all consecutively like that, like they used to do back in the day? I don't know about that. That part to me is problematic. But the way that Jimmy Butler is seamlessly fitting in, the way that he understands how to play with Steph when there are so many, especially young players who are just scratching their head going, how do I do this? When reality is Steph doesn't seem to be that hard to play with because of Steph's greatness. All right, so there's the whole thing on the game. I showed you the box score. Let's get into some of this Curry talk. And I know that it seems really, really simplistic that Steph Curry just handles the media in the way that he does, but it's just incredible. So let me just play a couple of cuts from Curry, one from Kerr, and then we're going to open up a conversation about something that Shaquille O'Neal said. Do I have that on the chalkboard there? Curry talk. No, I guess I don't have the Shaq thing. I thought I did. But we're going to play something from Shaq that invites a lot of good conversation. But anyway, here is Steph Curry with Jaron Greenberg on TNT after the game, talking about how much he loves playing at MSG.
You only get one time a year in here, and the energy is amazing, obviously, the basketball history. And we're obviously really motivated right now to try to be a consistent basketball team. And it was super fun to come back from a tough first half and win the game this way.
Interesting back-to-back for you. Your ties here to this floor, played in Charlotte last night. You got banged up with the ankle. You've been dealing with knee issues all year long. How are you physically feeling?
I still deal with all that stuff. Like, you can't escape it at this age, but you just have a maintenance program. Our staff's been awesome. God has been good to allow me to get through some early scares. And like, I never take a day for granted. You see what's going on, around the league. Like, you just got to have fun and enjoy it, and all the work that goes into it, enjoy that part of the process too.
Before Jimmy Butler got here, you're in 10th place in the Western Conference. You've won 9 out of 10 with him in the lineup. How is it possible that one man has made such a difference to now have you in the 6th spot in the Western Conference?
I mean, y'all know who he is and what he's been able to do in this league. And there's a learning curve and a learning process to bringing in a guy like him. But we're talking, we're figuring it out on a daily. I know we're all challenged because we understand the sense of urgency of where we are in the season. But he's a superstar. He's won and lifted teams, and he's doing it with us. And we're trying to all do our part around him.
Big celebration for Draymond's birthday tonight?
I'll never tell.
Steph, congratulations.
There you go. He's just so good. I mean, I know that maybe we all take this for granted, but as somebody who's done this for so many years and done those interviews in the post game and all that kind of stuff, and you're just wondering, like, what is a certain player going to be like on a certain night? And Steph's been doing this for so many years, and he's so gracious and cordial with everybody that I just don't take what he did there for granted. Maybe some people do. It's just like Steph being Steph. I get it, but he's just amazing in the way that he answers the questions. But let me go to, by the way, Draymond turned 35. But let me just go to Butler. He's making it look so easy. And because we didn't watch him on a day-by-day basis, and maybe you did, maybe you watched on the NBA channel, maybe Jimmy Butler was one of your favorites, and it's not like he hasn't been around. He's been with Chicago and Philly and Minnesota, and then he really blossomed, and the whole Heat culture thing was Jimmy Butler. But as much as we've watched him, we haven't watched him like we are intricately with this team, and it's not easy to, in this sense that he's done it so fast, integrate yourself into a team and make this much of a difference. But Steph used that word, and I guess maybe it was because in Miami this year, he was such a child and he was such a pain in the ass, and he was just the way he was acting to get out of there and those kind of things. And I didn't really respect it. And I knew the whole time, and I've told you this, that he wasn't playing at that point for a championship. He was playing for a contract. He's 35 years old. And he wanted a contract extension. I get it. These guys, and we think, oh, they've already got piles and piles and piles of money. I get it, but they want more. I mean, that's the way they are. That's the way that they're built. That's why they're as good as they are at the sport, is they're not content to just, okay, let me just play this season out and see what happens at the end. He's 35. And what Steph Curry just said there in his age 37 season, they just saw what happened to Kyrie Irving the other night. Nothing's guaranteed. We all sit there and go, they need to play and this and that. and they've got plenty of money, and I understand all those things. And it is frustrating for you and I trying to get by in today's world to see all this money being thrown around. But look, Jimmy Butler was like, I'm going to get paid. I'm getting an extension. And just to remind you, he wasn't coming to Golden State. He wasn't coming here. And I have it on really good authority that they had a deal done in Phoenix financially to extend him. But Bradley Beal didn't want to be a part of the trade. The Warriors had a part of a trade, but didn't want to extend him. And Jimmy Butler just said flat out, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. And then they said, okay, fine, we'll extend you. And he said, hey, man, I love the Bay Area now. So he wanted to get paid. I completely understand it. So it skewed me, at least in a certain way, where I went, this guy's just about money. But he's not. He's about winning. And so he's a Draymond Green, Steph Curry kind of a player. I don't mean in the way that he plays, because he couldn't be any more different. But you're adding another adult in the room. And Curry used the word superstar. I mean, for the first 10 games of the Warriors, he's been a superstar. But not only that, he's just been a perfect fit. He's been a perfect fit because he's not jacking threes, and he's not demanding the ball, and he's not doing any of these things. He's looking, and Steve Kerr used this term, and I'm not sure. I'm going to play Steve Kerr for you in a second. I don't know if it was last night or one of the other nights, but Steve Kerr used Andre Iguodala as a comp for Jimmy Butler, and I thought, I wasn't really buying it because obviously Jimmy Butler is a different offensive force than Andre. Andre was a better defender, especially later in his career. Jimmy's a selective defender. He's going to defend at certain times at a really high level. But what he does is he demands a lot out of his team, and you don't want to let him down. So I guess there's an Andre Iguodala sense in that way, but he's just kind of got the it. And Draymond has the it, and Curry has the it. And what it's doing is it's elevating everybody around them. So we're going to focus on Jimmy Butler, and I get it. And we're going to talk more about Steph Curry in a second with this thing that Shaq said, and Steve Kerr said something interesting that I'm going to play for you. But what's happening is certain players will elevate what's around them. So, for example, when the Mavericks traded Luka to the Lakers, I just went, God, the GM or whomever, because this has to start at the ownership level, so I don't buy any of this stuff. This is just a GM trying to protect his ownership group, whatever. Whether he's drinking beer or vaping or whatever the case, I don't care. Luka Doncic, you can't even judge these guys by their numbers. They're going to elevate everybody around him. And he just turned 26, and he's going to do this for a long, long, long time. And then you watch Jimmy Butler. All of a sudden, Podziemski's playing better, and even Steph is playing better, and Draymond's playing better, and Jimmy's Jimmy. But everybody around him has elevated their game. Go look at the numbers. In fact, I think I do have a Steph thing here. Yeah, that's Steph since the trade. 29 points, 7 assists. I mean, you can read. I was going to just read them all for you, but I'm not going to do that. 9-2, but it's 9-1 since Jimmy's playing. Jimmy missed the game, and they lost that game. So he's elevating everything around him because the rest of the teams around Steph Curry, who's already a great player, are going, damn, there's another guy we got to worry about. And you can look at the numbers of Wiggins, and I did this a few games ago. I haven't been monitoring him since, but in the first 4 or 5 games since the trade, Wiggins actually had better numbers. But this is why it's not fantasy. Everybody wants to get all these players because we're wired as it's like a game of fantasy basketball or fantasy baseball or fantasy football. It's not. There's a chemistry element in the reality of the game that Jimmy Butler is bringing that beyond what I just said and said everybody's elevated and look at Steph's numbers and this and that. He's bringing something to the table that you can't even. It's just a chemistry. It's an unknown. It's an intangible that you look at the end of a game and you just go, okay. But then you watch on the court too, when it's what do teams do now? They got to extend the defense and play Steph way out there, but then that opens up things for Jimmy and other guys. So Podziemski's getting better shots. So look, when Kuminga comes back, I'm really interested in what he does. If Kuminga can fold in like everybody else has with the addition of Jimmy Butler, then I think they can challenge anybody in the West. But until then, I'll reserve my judgment. And I don't think I'm homering out. I think that like I said, the thing I can say about the Warriors at this point is they're legit. However you want to interpret that is fine. The Warriors are legit. And before Jimmy Butler, they were a 10th place team. They were going to be out in the play-in round. There was going to be a lot of questions in the offseason. I think Steph was going to ask for a trade. This organization has completely flipped with Jimmy Butler. And I got to give the guy a ton of credit because the guy that we saw in Miami who was such a giant pain in the ass, I go, that's the guy they're going to get? And I've seen Jimmy Butler play plenty, but it's the other side of it. It's the leadership. It's all these different things that he's bringing to the table in addition to the court that is giving the Warriors this much confidence. Here is Steve Kerr post-game giving some love to Jimmy, especially the way that they've been defending.
I think we're second in both offense and defense. Obviously, small sample size, but that's when we got Jimmy, and so things have clearly turned with him. He's a great complement to what we already do, just with his ability to pass. But what he's adding is that maturity and poise that. We've made the Andre comparison. He's not the exact same player as 𝐷𝐸𝐫𝐷, but he has the same influence. Just constantly reading what's happening, settling us down, and creating good possessions at.
All right, so it was. I couldn't remember because we put so many things out there, but he used the Andre Iguodala comparison, and sometimes we look at it and we don't understand what somebody is saying when they make some sort of a comp like that. They are different in the way that they play, but what I just talked about the intangible factor, he said calms us down. When people look at Andre Iguodala and they don't give him enough credit, and he just obviously had his 9 put in the rafters, they just don't understand the game enough because it's about the physical part of the game, and Jimmy scored 19 last night, and he's a great compliment to Steph because nobody on this team gets to the free throw line. So when they struggle and they're jacking 3 after 3 after 3 and they go through long stretches without scoring, Jimmy Butler doesn't allow that to happen. It's a mid-range shot that he hits. It's him going to the rim. It's him being able to read what the team needs. And that's where the comp in Andre Iguodala works, is when Andre Iguodala got to the Warriors and was coming off the bench, you could say, okay, what does the team need? Now, Butler's a better shooter, but neither are really long-range guys. And Jimmy Butler starts versus Andre coming off the bench a lot of that time. But Andre could sit and say, okay, what does the team need? I can ball handle. I can defend most positions. If we need to be calmed down, settled down, I'll get in the game. I'll set everybody down. Again, Draymond and Steph were younger guys back in those days, so maybe they needed more. But it still applies today, even though with a bunch of veterans on there, that where Jimmy comes into the game and says, look, guys, we got this. There's just a lot to that. There's a confidence now that this team is playing with that you can see with Steph Curry and talking to Jared Greenberg after the game that they just didn't have before. So that's where I think the Iguodala thing works. All right, we'll go out to the chat line in just a second, but let me play one more thing because this is what I got to play this Curry for you because he talks about MSG, but is this some sort of an ode to Joe Namath? Because I've never seen Steph wear this coat. So the answer's good. But let's delve into a little bit of fashion with Steph Curry here. Here you go. Here's Steph after the game asked about why he loves playing in MSG so much.
It's my best individual game. Weird. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, please. Thank you. What is it about this building?
It's Madison Square Garden. It speaks for itself. This is a place that brings, it just naturally has great, unique, authentic basketball energy. And, like, the fans are unreal, like the who's who of Celebrity Row and all that, but just everybody's anticipating great basketball. And from my first game here in college to now, like, it's always delivered. So and for us in the Western Conference, we only get one chance here, and try to make it.
All right, there you go. So it's what Steph said, but it's also I couldn't pull that coat off. It's a nice coat. I don't know that it's an ode to Joe Namath in Super Bowl III, where Joe wore the big fur coat. That's probably not PC for Steph to wear a big fur coat or something like that. Some group would get all after him, but I like the coat. I couldn't have pulled it off, but I like the coat. We all know that about Steph. Maybe that's a national story or something, but the bigger the event, the bigger the arena, the bigger the game. That's one thing you know about Steph is not every shot's going to go in. I understand those kind of things, but for the most part, Steph gets all jacked up and he's running up and down. And New York's definitely, I think, supplanted LA because it used to be LA and Jack was courtside and they'd show all these people. Now it's New York. In New York, it's like it's everybody, and so he's going to play that. He's going to play great. All right, let me hit this because this is really what I want to talk about, and then I want to hit out to the chat line. So I don't have this on the chalkboard, and I apologize. So it's episode 77, Golden State at New York. What did we learn? I think we learned that the Warriors are legit. Curry talk, awesome again at Madison Square Garden. And then we'll get into 49ers fire sale, which is not going to happen, and Schefter and Brock's offer and losing BA. And there's a ton of Niner stuff, but I think the Warriors deserved the A slot, as they call it, the number one slot today. But let's play this. And I want to get your thoughts on it. Here's Shaquille O'Neal, and Shaq's always been a big Steph Curry guy, where Charles has for years gotten on the Warriors' pretty jump shooting team, and then he gets on to San Francisco and gives us grief. I will give him credit. He was great during All-Star Weekend. But here is Shaq. He's at the B team on TNT last night, and he demands Steph Curry get some respect. Take a listen to this.
Supreme leader of the Big Man Alliance, I demand you fans to start putting Steph Curry in that greatest of all time conversation. Just start putting them in the conversation.
So the conversation of Jordan,
Mike,
LeBron, Kobe,
LeBron, start putting Steph in that conversation. I demand it.
Why does the Big Men Alliance need to say something?
Because I am the supreme leader and my voice counts. And I'm saying, listen, I played against Mike, played with Kobe, played against and with LeBron. They're all great. But at some point, we're going to have to put Steph Curry in that category. I'm not saying he is, but let's just have the conversation. Like, I like all the internet talk and the barbershop talk, but I ain't never seen nothing like that before, and nobody has. And
pretty special.
And that's how many of them things he got. 1, 2, 3, 4 against LeBron. So I demand that people, you start putting my.
All right, so I started thinking about it, and he's right. He's right in the way that I don't know what it is. There's nothing left for Steph to accomplish. He's got the MVPs. He's got the rings. Maybe it's the era of player that you're playing with or against, I should say, in this case. LeBron James has largely been just given the mantle of the best player of this generation. And to just go back a little bit, I've said this a million times, but if you're new around here, one of my first assignments was covering the Bulls locker room in 1998. So I'm very familiar with Michael Jordan, both on and off the court. I think he's the greatest. But if you're new around here, I'm not much into, you don't care what my list is. And no offense, I don't care about yours. And you should stick to your list and who your greatest is. And a lot of it has to do with when you grew up and what was your generation of player and what the rules were. I love having these debates. They're a lot of fun, but the reason they're fun, and I worked for ESPN for a number of years, about 10 years, so I'll pull back the curtain there as well. They do, before shows, say, you take that side, you take this side. It's not, this just doesn't come out this way. But that's the endless debates, and I talked about it, I think, yesterday or the year before. Pete Rose is dead. So Pete Rose's lifetime ban is up. And the only reason I bring that up in context with this is because it was an old sports radio argument that you could constantly talk about and would never die. Does Pete Rose belong in the Hall of Fame? No. Yes. No. Yes. Back and forth. Well, he's dead now, and it was a lifetime ban, so he should be in. So that sports radio conversation is going to come to an end here shortly, but we could always rely on it. And it's the same thing with these greatest conversations. There's never an end to these debates, but you could never have an answer to it. It makes my mind spin like human evolution, because you sit there and you say, well, who's the greatest? Well, when did you grow up? Because I'm not really comfortable going back to the 60s when I just didn't see these guys play, and a number of, like a Bill Russell, something like that. Doesn't he deserve it? I mean, if you look at the numbers in Wilt Chamberlain, doesn't he deserve some sort of a conversation? I mean, the offensive numbers that Wilt Chamberlain put up are mind-boggling. But then I saw Jordan play, and I saw him play in the biggest moments, and I saw him literally courtside right there and talk to him after games and everything. And maybe it's just because I'm biased because I was there, but I consider Jordan to be the best. But Kobe's damn good, and you can't deny, and I'm not a big LeBron guy, I say it all the time, off the court, he's corny and cheesy, but you know what? He's 40 years old, and you can make a case this year that he's the MVP of the league at 40. You could never say that. He is punching Father Time right in the face, kicking him in the nuts, and running down the street naked, laughing, going, Father Time, get the hell out of my face, man. Can't deny it. And Steph Curry's doing the same thing. So what Shaq is saying, I really love, because I don't know, lists and Mount Rushmores, and this is the best and that's the best. It's the backbone of what ESPN and Fox and all these daytime yip yap shows do. They constantly do it. And then we fall into the trap of, did you see so-and-so's list? Did you see what so-and-so said? Who cares? Who cares? But what Shaq said right there is 100% accurate. Your best of all time could be somebody from the 60s, like a Bill Russell. It could be somebody, it could be Michael Jordan. It could be Kobe Bryant. It could be LeBron James. Good for you. That's totally fine. It could be somebody that's up and coming. Same thing with the quarterback debate. Is it Joe? Is it Brady? Is it Mahomes? I don't know. I mean, it's one of those guys. The rules have changed so much. How would this guy do that? Could the Warriors beat the Bulls? I mean, all these different rule changes. They're all fun and great debates. But what Shaquille O'Neal said right there is 100% the truth and accurate. And I don't think I have to put any caveats on it, but if I did have to put something on it, there's never been a player at his size dominate the way that he has dominated. And I'm not going to hold it against guys because Shaquille O'Neal, for example, how many times I've been on the radio and heard somebody say, well, it was just because he was big and strong. Okay, you could be big and strong and eat Cheetos all day and you're not going to go anywhere. I mean, could Shaquille O'Neal played or been in better shape? Yeah. Could he have played harder? Yeah. Could he have cared more? I mean, he said it. He didn't have Kobe Bryant's mentality. But in some way, shape, or form in our society right now, in terms of who's the greatest, Jordan's in the conversation. LeBron's in the conversation. Kobe sometimes, but most people say, okay, a little bit back. And then if you're an old timer, Bill Russell gets in that conversation and Wilt gets in it and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has all the numbers and played for a long time. So there's a handful of guys who get talked about. Mostly it's LeBron and Michael Jordan. And I'm not saying that Steph is better, but what I am saying is depending on how you want to use your parameters. And this is what I think is great. Everybody thinks something is important when they have their debate about who's the best. And here's what I know about Steph Curry. And maybe this is just not part of the equation, but he revolutionized the game, whether you want to say it in a negative sense or a positive sense. He changed the game about as much as anybody has in the last how many years? 25, 30 years? Because remember, SportsCenter used to be about dunks that you and I could never do. And so we could never relate to that person. I could never relate to Michael Jordan, even like the turnaround baseline jump shots and mid-range game that he had and the athleticism that he showed. I just couldn't. Come on, I can't do that. But a lot of guys come into the league and think to themselves, well, I can shoot like Steph. 7-footers didn't shoot like this. You know that. I'm just reiterating it for you. When you see, sometimes, like I remember Karl Anthony Towns when he did the skills competition for the first time. Not only could he handle it, he could shoot it from three. All these guys didn't do that. It just wasn't in their game. It was a big man goes down to the block. He completely changed the game. So whether you like it or you don't, I mean, doesn't that count for something in terms of when you're saying the greatest player? Is the greatest player the biggest winner? Is the greatest player the guy who has the most stats and has scored the most points? I mean, LeBron has that. He has longevity. Michael Jordan never lost, though, kind of like Joe Montana. They didn't lose. When they got there, they didn't lose. So how much does that play in it? There's all these different factors, and I'm probably blowing your mind right now, but there's all these different factors that decide in your mind what is important. See, to me, winning is really important. I don't care what you're getting against Indiana on a Tuesday night. I don't really care. If you have the most points like LeBron does, it just means you're around for a long time. What's interesting about LeBron is he's got a great all-around game. So really the comp to Michael Jordan doesn't even work. He's like a much, much, much better Scottie Pippen because he can pass it, he can rebound, he can score, he can do everything, but he's not a great shooter. He gets to the rim. He's 6'8", 260. He's like a Mack truck, and he still is, and you can't get in his way. And anytime LeBron James wants to get to the rim, he can. It's just he's 40 years old, so he doesn't do it as much. It reminds me a little bit of Karl Malone in that way. Or Karl Malone was 6'9", 260, could get to the rim anytime he wanted. But as he got older, he got really adept at baseline jumpers, the mid-range game, those kind of things, because he didn't want to beat up his body as much. LeBron still does that. He'll still Mack truck you, but he's not a great shooter, but he's the leading scorer, but he's been around for a long time. So, there's all these different factors. Plus, let's be honest, it's human nature. Some of the corniness of LeBron James, it's one of the reasons why I think some of the media doesn't like him, whereas Michael Jordan was dead eye killer. That's just what Jordan was. He wanted to win at everything, and it was, you saw it in The Last Dance. It was just so people look at him maybe in a different way. But anyway, it's a long way of saying what Shaquille O'Neal said there does bear conversation. And I'm not one to say who's the best. I'm not one to say Mount Rushmore is anything like that. Your list is fine. That guy's list is fine. That's cool. It's your list. And it's based on what you find to be important in saying that somebody's the greatest of all time. And yeah, the numbers have got to be there and the championships have got to be there. And to me, it's those games. In the back of my mind, I got to be able to, if I'm going to call you the greatest or in the conversation the greatest, I better be able to pull out of my mind, my warped mind that I have, 3 or 4 games right out of the gate, just flow, right? Just boom, 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 boom. And I don't mean a game on a Tuesday night against Denver. I mean a game in the playoffs, a game in the finals. And that's where Jordan elevated himself above others, is that you can remember the shots that he made, the one over Craig Elo, right? The one over Brian Russell to win the championship. All these different play, like right away, boom, 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 boom. And LeBron has them and Steph has them and all those kind of things. Those are the kind of plays. And then you start looking at the other things. Then it's championships. Then it's, oh, yeah, look at those stats. Oh, yeah, then the MVPs and all those kind of things. But that's where it comes in. So when Shaq says you got to put him in the conversation, to be completely honest, having watched his entire career here, I never even really, because it was always about LeBron or Michael Jordan or Wilt Chamberlain. So first of all, you can, if you want to use some sort of a parameter and say, okay, for his size, he might be the best player of all time. And then you expand that whole thing out and you say, if you want to talk about revolutionizing the game, he's done it. Winning championships, he's done it. Carrying a team, he's done it. Statistics, he's done it. Like all these different things. And at the end, you're going to say, geez, he does deserve a spot at the table in the conversation. And that's all I really care about. Like if I had played the game, clearly I'm so non-athletic that this is laughable, but it played the game and at least I was there for like if I'm in the conversation, that's all that should matter. I mean, if you ever look at interviews with Michael Jordan never, as competitive as he was, at least not in front of a camera. Now behind the scenes, different. But in front of a camera, Michael Jordan never said, I'm the greatest. He just said, look, that's disrespecting the others in the past. And that's how I feel about greatest conversations. You're really good right now. I don't know. I didn't see certain players play. The rules were completely different. All these different things that you throw into the stew. And Michael Jordan basically said that if I call myself the greatest, then I'm disrespecting Bill Russell. If I call myself the greatest, then I'm disrespecting Wilt Chamberlain. LeBron James has no problem going ding. And maybe that's part of the problem. So if I can try to keep it on the court, I do realize what LeBron James is doing at the age of 40, and that has to go into the equation to me. You know, most guys by their late 30s, and things are different now. Nutrition is different now. The way they travel is different. All these things to give these players more longevity in their career, but it still makes it amazing. To watch Steph last night at MSG, and then we'll wrap this thing up and we'll get to some Niners talk, but to watch Steph at MSG last night rise up to the occasion and have that, and we're 20 games left in the season. So we're sprinting down the stretch now. And Steph Curry steps it up like he does in back-to-back games. Charlotte's kind of an emotional return for him because it is his hometown. He sprains his ankle and comes back against the Knicks and has that kind of a performance. And that's what I think spurred Shaq to say what he said. Like, he's got to be in the conversation. You got to start putting him in the conversation. And as weird as it is, I never even really thought about it, but it's pretty good. All right, let's get to some thoughts. MJ even said that recently, I think, deflecting the GOAT talk. Here's the thing. I could be wrong in this. And look, it's not going to, it doesn't even alter any type of my thinking in terms of LeBron James and whether I think he's great. I think he can be annoying at times, but I think this is a general rule when it comes to greatness. You leave it up to other people. Like when you're really that great at anything at your job, you don't need to walk around the office. I'm the man. It's like, well, the sales sheet says you are. Yeah, you don't really have to say it. I'm the best. Okay. Like if you're saying it, like in boxing, they say it a lot of times. Maybe it's a confidence issue. They want to make sure that they truly believe that they are. So a lot of people may need to do that. You may need to tell yourself you're the best. You may need to shout it out. You may need to take a big bullhorn and say that you're the greatest. Maybe that's just a thing for you. But greatness means you really don't have to say it. You never have to. Like Michael Jordan doesn't have to say it. Steph Curry occasionally. I mean, I guess Steph has said he's the greatest three-point shooter, but it's for Steph Curry. What does he have to say about it? Like he's got the three-point record. There's nobody who doesn't think that Steph Curry is the greatest three-point shooter of all time. Now, at some point, just because of the way the game is played, when Steph started, it wasn't, guys weren't jacking 15 threes a game. So at some point, it's going to be a record that's going to be exceeded Steph Curry's, but it doesn't. That's what I mean about statistics and the way things are nowadays. I don't care. I don't care who comes along in the future and breaks Steph Curry's records. Steph Curry is the greatest three-point shooter of all time. Don't care. Because one of the reasons why he is because he revolutionized it. He just came into the league on it. Well, not exactly. But once it became kind of in vogue, he just kept shooting it. And not only that, from distance and all the different things. Let me just pop out a couple of these because there's a lot of good stuff coming out right now. I'll give you this is a great example. Scottie Pippen says it all the time in interviews. And Scottie doesn't really like Michael anymore. I mean, you could tell on the Last Dance. He didn't like it. I mean, there's just no denying it. Now, he doesn't like LeBron very much. I'll say that. But to just, all I'm saying is to have Steph in the conversation, and Shaq's 100% right. And maybe he was already in yours. Maybe you were just like, yeah, of course he's in the conversation. But, you see what he's doing night after night after night, and it's just incredible. It's incredible. Good morning, Christopher. I hadn't seen you. Steve, good to see you. Enrique, Fossey, Bill M. I missed a few people along the way here. So good morning to everybody. Great to see. Oh, look at this right here. Very nice to see you. Like you said, Daft King. Pete Rose needs to be in the Hall of Fame simply because Major League Baseball's present embrace of sports gambling. Well, that's a great point, bro. That's a really good point. It's like, we're gonna make all the money off it, but that's how baseball's been. Not to go off on a tangent on this, but since you brought it up, and it's a good one, baseball made all the. Believe me, I was covering baseball at the time. Baseball's making all this money at the time. They knew what was going on. Everybody knew what was going on. They cashed all the checks. And then when it came to like, hey, you're going to get caught. What? Oh, my God, this is going on. My biggest thing for Pete Rose, not to get on this tangent again, is lifetime ban. He accepted a lifetime ban. He no longer has life. And it's not great, but at least he gets into the Hall of Fame. I mean, just do the right thing. I mean, that should have been done yesterday. It should have been done the day after he passed. Like, come on, man. Iggy and Butler have a calming influencer it factor. 100%, Bill M. 100%. And that's what Steve Kerr meant. So many times people go like, well, their games aren't that similar. Yeah, I mean, a little bit they are, but it's just that adult in the room kind of a thing. And Jimmy Butler's bringing that. And one of my things was, and maybe this will happen and maybe it just won't. Maybe in a playoff game, maybe in a playoff series, maybe after a loss in a big playoff game, something like that, where I thought there was going to be that clash, right? Jimmy and Draymond. And we haven't seen it. But when things are kumbaya, right? When you're 9-1 in the 10 games they've played together, there's not a lot of animosity. But I'm just here to tell you, just put this in the back of your mind. And I'm not doing it. I'm not saying it to be negative. It's not sports. It's life. There's going to be a problem. That's why I don't know if you're like me. When I'm surfing a positive wave in life, which comes oh so rarely, when you're kind of surfing that thing, you're just in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I know this wave's going to crash and I'm going to go head first into the sand or something. Like, it's just, I don't know, maybe it's just my nature. So it's not that I think the Warriors are going to crash and burn, because I don't. I wouldn't have come out and started the show today with Warriors and have done 57 minutes on John Lund Unleashed this morning on the Warriors had I not thought to myself and been very passionate about it. And if you're new because you saw the press release on Bay Area Sports Collective, I'm not going to do those kind of things. The greatness of not having the shackles of radio is that we can talk about whatever we want for as long as we want. I don't have to look at the clock right now at 9:04 a.m. Pacific and say, damn, I got a break in 5 minutes. I better wrap this up. We can talk about something for as long or as little as we want. We don't have flagships here. We don't know, it's just about what's entertaining and fun. And then you send me on a tangent on the text line here. I mean, that's just what it is. It's what I do. Because, see, I mentioned Pete Rose, and now a bunch of people are talking about that. Pine Needles talking about Luciano and Eldridge to the minor leagues. Let me just tell you one quick thing, since we're not going to get to the Giants for a while, Pine Needle. There was a guy named Ramos who went to minor league camp really early last year. Just saying, they could be back. Eldridge, though, looked incredibly overmatched. He hit that home run, and then I think he struck out like 8 of the next 12 times he was up. So he's going to take a minute. So I'm just saying. But anyway, just to wrap up the conversation on the Warriors and not go too ADD on you this morning, and then there's a ton on the Niners today, an absolute ton on the Niners today. But the Warriors deserve, like I said, the number one position this morning. The Warriors are legit. Through 10 games, Jimmy is better than I could have ever imagined. I didn't realize that, and I'll admit this, and I wonder if you knew this and I just didn't. I watched Jimmy for years and years and years and years and years, but not every day. And there's a massive difference there. And it's the Andre Iguodala calming factor that is happening right now. And it's easy, but I do think in the back of my mind, I'll just put this in the back of my mind. Something's going to happen, because that's how life works. I don't know if you're like me. That's the thought I was going to finish. I don't know if you're like me, where it's like, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? Well, come on. Where is it? I know. Like, this is a great wave, but I know. So they will go through something. I don't know if there's going to be an injury. I don't know if it's going to be Kuminga coming back and him not folding in the way that maybe they would want him to. there was something, I can't remember who said it. It might have been during the broadcast last night. I hope Jonathan Kuminga was watching, because what Jimmy Butler is offensively would be really nice if Jonathan Kuminga could be that same type of player. It's cool that you're working on your three. You're young. So yeah, work on the three. But dude, nobody can stay in front of you. Get to the rim. Think to yourself, I want to get not, 6 or 8 or 10 threes off tonight. I want to get 10 free throws from the line. That's what Jonathan Kuminga should be thinking. He should be watching Jimmy Butler going, that's me. That's what I want to do. And Kuminga's a far superior athlete. I'm not saying that, but it's his mental side. And this is where we get so enamored. The way he can dunk and this, and he's an athlete. And we're going to see this in the draft all the time. Oh my God, we just saw it in the combine. Oh, he just ran a 4.3. And if there was a combine right now, and this isn't exactly a right comp, but it's just coming to my mind, Jimmy Butler wouldn't be fast. Jimmy Butler wouldn't be overly athletic, although he's a really good athlete. Jimmy Butler wouldn't test probably as high as a lot of guys would in the league. And then other people, then if this was like a combine situation like it is in the NFL, then people would just be like, well, Jimmy Butler, when did Jimmy Butler get drafted? Second round out of Marquette. Second round. Because they missed. They didn't see the heart. They didn't see the leadership. They didn't see, and that took a while to develop. But still, he was drafted in the second round because people are like, that guy? Don't get it. And Jonathan Kuminga was drafted 7th overall because they looked at his athletic skills and said, oh my God, if you could combine the head, the brain of Jimmy Butler, the maturity of Jimmy Butler, and put it into Jonathan Kuminga, you might have the best player of all time. I mean, Kuminga's athleticism is through the roof. And Jimmy's basketball IQ and like I said, the Andre Iguodala type. So if you're Jonathan Kuminga, watch Jimmy Butler. It's the best thing you could possibly do as you're nursing that ankle that completely fell apart and had to be imported from Germany, a new one, apparently. That's it. You want to be Jimmy Butler. And because of your athleticism, you'll be more than that, but just be that. You can get to the rim. Nobody can stop you getting to the rim. Think about all the different ways that Jimmy does it. There's a skill in getting to the rim, which I'll just say this one last time. It's hilarious to watch the games when the local announcer would scream and cry and everything when other guys would get to the line. And now Jimmy Butler gets to the line. It's this wonderful skill. And there's a skill getting to the line. And yeah, no kidding. Because when you don't just jack a three up, you can get to the line. It's amazing how that works. Anyway. All right. That's enough. That's enough on the Warriors. Did an hour on the Warriors today, and they deserved every minute of it. Steph Curry at MSG. Shaq saying that Steph deserves to be in the conversation. Do I need to play that again or no? We can go back and watch it. Like I said, if you're new to John Lund Unleashed, thank you for making the time for episode 77 on a Wednesday. What we'll do after the show is right away, we'll put it on a podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast, and then we'll put these chapters up. So if you missed any of the conversation, any of the talk about the Warriors, which was warranted, like this, let me just do it one more time, just because it's fun.
Supreme leader of the Big Man Alliance, I demand you fans to start putting Steph Curry in that greatest of all time conversation. Just start putting them in the conversation.
So the conversation of Jordan,
Mike,
LeBron, Kobe,
LeBron, start putting Steph in that conversation. I demand it.
Why does the Big Man Alliance need to say something?
Because I am the supreme leader and my voice counts. And I'm saying, listen, I played against Mike, played with Kobe, played against and with LeBron. They're all great. But at some point, we're going to have to put Steph Curry in that category. I'm not saying he is, but let's just have the conversation. Like, I like all the internet talk and the barbershop talk, but I ain't never seen nothing like that before, and nobody has.
See, there you go. I mean, he goes on and on and on, and I don't need to play the whole thing, but the reason why he has credibility is he just talked about it. He played with LeBron, played with Kobe. He played so long, he played with a lot of different generations. He's not just saying it to say it. That's what's great about that show. Those guys just say whatever's on their mind. Somebody just used the word succulent in the chat. Can somebody explain to me what's going on? Succulent is a great word. We talk about certain terms. Like, I don't like moist is a weird term to me. Succulent is an amazing term. It can mean so many different things. Like, why is it? I don't know why no other meat is said that it is succulent other than a rib. Like, those ribs are succulent, but you never hear like that steak is succulent. I don't know. Anyway, I just saw the word succulent. But I'm just intrigued. And since we're going to go between things, this is a perfect time to just do a little bit of off the wall type of a things for a minute. And I can go ADD because I'm going to go Niners in just a second. And the Warriors were worth the first hour of the show. There's no doubt about it. Somebody just said something about that, something about Kuminga, but okay. What was everybody talking about succulent? Why did Joy just use the term succulent? I just want to know. And then I'll just move on. See, I don't know if you can use succulent pancakes. The most succulent pancakes are the pancakes that someone else likes to use. Succulent. Are pancakes succulent? I've never used that term. By the way, since you brought up pancakes, this is what happens in this room, everybody. If you're brand new, John Lund Unleashed, thanks for joining us. Join us on YouTube. Thanks for watching on X and Instagram and Bay Area Sports Collective. We're on that YouTube channel, John Lund Unleashed, Facebook, all those ways. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'd love it if you migrated yourself over to the room, to John Lund Unleashed. We just go on these weird tangents. So my wife, before we get into the NFL talk, my wife this morning is, as I'm walking in, it's about 5 minutes to 8 before the show. And she's making pancakes, which during the week, she's taking kids to school. We have a 9th and a 7th grader in the house, in addition to my son who's in college, and she's making pancakes. You never make big breakfast during the week. Like, you just throw cereal at somebody nowadays, or a bar or something like that. Like, just go. Like, it's time to go to, everybody's scrambling, everybody's running. It's great because if you're new here, I have a studio outside adjacent to the house, and this is where I live. In fact, I've said this a million times. I'm just going to do tomorrow. I'll have it for the show, and I'll just walk in here with a camera. It's a disaster in here right now. I mean, you can see, look, there's a Lund thing back there. I don't know where to hang. You can't see most of it. It's just an absolute disaster. But anyway, I go in, and she's making pancakes during the week. And I'm like, pancakes during the week? Like, that's a lot. Like, on the weekend, I'm a big breakfast guy. If I could only have one meal, we can start this debate. If I can only have one meal the rest of my life, breakfast. And I know it's limiting and all those kind of things, but for example, I'm a big Mexican breakfast guy, and I was in Danville over the weekend, and my wife and I had breakfast, and I had the Mexican plate. I'd never had it before, and it had like pork and all this kind of stuff, and they had fresh tortillas with it, and you just scoop everything in, you put a bunch of hot sauce on it. It was so good. Like, and I told her right at that moment, I looked up and I said, if I can only have one, not one breakfast, I want all the breakfasts. Whether one day it's pancakes, one day it's French toast, one day I'm more into like eggs and all those kind of things, egg dishes and everything, or, some sort of a thing like that. But breakfast would be the one. I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. That's cool. More people into like Italian food or pizza. It's not that I don't like those kind of things, but if I just had to do one thing. But anyway, she's making pancakes during the week, which I found a little peculiar. But here was the problem. She made keto pancakes. Like the whole point of pancakes, and I'm a big believer in this. Like, if you're on a diet, for example, you're either in a diet or you're not. You're either eating pancakes or you're not. Like, keto pancakes that's just like no carbs. So how can you have pancakes that have no carbs? I have no idea. And if she's watching right now, she's going to come barging in here and tell me how good they were. I don't care. And she uses sugar-free syrup. So does that sound good to you? But then what's so weird about a keto diet is you could have 25 pieces of bacon with it. Like, yep, I got to be really careful and have those keto pancakes with the sugar-free syrup. But then there's a pile of bacon. Let me see if I can get it all on the screen. Like that high. You can eat that, which I think clogs your arteries, but I could be wrong. But I'm not a doctor. Who the heck knows? I don't know. Yeah, there you go. Keto pancakes are not great. Yeah, she does keto all the time, and she knows her stuff. Oh, man. See, this is where we're going. We're going to the Niners in a second. Corned beef hash is so good. So good. Like, if you don't know a place, there's a place in Walnut Creek, Main Street Kitchen. You ever go to Main Street Kitchen in Walnut Creek? Such good breakfast. And they do like a homemade corned beef hash. Good night. Hi, Jake. My wife makes kids breakfast and has great offerings for lunch. I had cereal and a sandwich. Kids have it great. She's a secondary teacher. So does she go out, Jake? Does she do like a full breakfast every morning? Because I'm not in there often because the show starts at 8 a.m. Pacific time, but I know this, and this was my mom too. First of all, I've told you this story before. My mom never cooked. Never. So if we wanted food, we had to go. We generally, I'm from the generation of sugary cereals. So it was like Frankenberry, Count Chocula, Boo Berry, Fruit Loops, Fruity Pebbles, whatever the chocolate pebbles. Let's see, what was the guy like? And you just sit there and watch cartoons, and that half the commercials were sugary cereal commercials. Well, my mom was just like, And she did. There's no way she didn't get it. She didn't even get it out of the. It's not like she got it out of the cupboard or anything. We had to go get it. And then sometimes we do toast. Maybe every once in a while we do toast. Like peanut butter toast was really, really good, something like that. But during the week, my dad cooked. Like I said, so if it was a weekend and you'd be laying in bed and you could hear like the eggs and the bacon and the hash browns. I told you he's fry man, so we always had hash browns. We had an outside freezer just with like hash browns and French fries in it. He was fry man. So anyway, all right, that's enough of a tangent right now. We got a lot of stuff to do. You know what's weird? Count Chocula. Told you, man. They had Count Chocula, Boo Berry, Frankenberry was the other one, and then every once in a while they'd come out with some wild one that just didn't work. I was like, nah. Like they tried one that was like some sort of weird thing. This is what I was trying to pop up there. You know what's weird, Franco? And then this is it. I swear to God, we got to get to the Niners here. Even though I have nowhere to go, and this is probably why I'm doing this. Oh my God, you just went with my favorite right here. Look at that. Yeah, chorizo. There's a place by me that does this chorizo thing that is outstanding. And I can't, if chorizo is on the menu, I think I had that in Santa Cruz last weekend. Yeah, you're right, man. Cereal's not good for you. We were all tricked. Yeah, terrible. The sugary cereals, good thing when you're younger. I don't even know if I don't think they had nutrition labels on them, did they? Not that my mom would have cared, because she was just like, I'm working. You grab yourself some cereal. But my mom, it wasn't like we would go to the grocery store. And well, first of all, I've told you this story before. When we went to the grocery store, my mom hated being at the grocery store so bad. And clearly this is before, all the different ways you could get groceries delivered to your house. This is no lie. When I was in like 7th grade, and I don't know why the grocery store would take these, my mom would give me a check. She would sign the bottom of it, and she would drop my sister and I off at the grocery store. That's what she would do. And she would only have because we did the same stuff. I don't know if your family was like this. We did the same stuff every week. So Monday was pizza night. Tuesday was tacos. I don't remember what Wednesday was. My parents went out on Friday and Saturday. They were like, you're on your own. And then Sunday we did some sort of a roast or something like that. Anyway, we were set for the week. So she would tell us like maybe there was 8 or 10 things that she had to have, ground beef or this or that, or taco shells or blah, blah, blah. So we would do that. But then anything else was up to us. So it was like Twinkies, cupcakes, sugary cereals, Coke, Sprite, not diet. There was no zero. There was no nothing like that. So, and she was like, whatever, because she didn't want to cook. And so it was like, microwave meals, those kind of things. Like anything she was like, I'm not cooking. And my dad traveled like 3 weeks out of a month. So she's like, if you guys want something at the store, get it. I just want, these are the few things that we have to have because we have this every single week. All right. You got to get off this, man. I got to move on. I got stuff to do. I spent about 15 minutes on this. All right, let's get to this. All right, so we've done episode 77. We are an hour and 12 into the show here on John Lund Unleashed. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are here checking us out with the Bay Area Sports Collective, my gosh, I gotta get back on things. I gotta get going here. All right, Curry Talk, Golden State at the Knicks. We are at the 49ers fire sale. My God, we're only an hour into this thing. We're at 49ers fire sale. So let me play some Adam Schefter for you yesterday. This was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, and he's talking about a fire sale. And we're going to have to go to the website and talk some of these things as well. But here is Schefty, ESPN NFL insider, on with Pat McAfee yesterday.
Well, again, I think that the 49ers in their particular financial situation are open to listening on just about anybody, right? And so if there's a team out there that is willing to take on the Brandon Ayuk contract with him coming off the torn ACL, I'm sure they would listen, absolutely. But again, you've got to find a team that's willing to take on the player with the injury, with the contract. That's not a simple thing to do. Look, if there's no knee injury, it's a simple deal. But because there's a knee injury, because he may miss the first half of next season, and there are questions about, when he'll get back next year, there are a whole host of pending issues. But the Niners, again, for them to play in the free agency sandbox, they're going to have to find ways to clear out salary, whether that's through Brandon Ayuk or Jordan Mason or any other player that they don't bring back or let go. They have to find ways to get money to help field the kind of roster that they want. So if an offer comes in on Brandon Ayuk and there's a team out there that's willing to take on that particular situation, I'm sure they would be open to listening to it.
All right, let me straighten a couple of things out. Adam Schefter reports what he hears. Adam Schefter is smart. I understand that. But what I'm here to do, it's fun conversation. The ESPN shows love talking about Davante Adams gets released, and everybody runs to their social media and says, should the Niners pick him up, and all this kind of stuff. So I'm sorry to be the not fun person and going to reality and looking at a couple of numbers, but I'm going to make this make a lot of sense, and I'm going to make it very, 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 very simple. As far as Brandon Ayuk is concerned, I've written about this at JohnLundUnleashed.com. I did a deep dive into the whole thing. I showed you the 49ers contracts. I've showed you the whole situation. Let me just do this really, really quickly. I don't want to bore you, and there's a lot of people who have seen this before, like, Lund, don't you dare do this. But I'm just going to do it really quickly to show people. Let's see, that's an editing one. I want to, there's a box score. Let me see if I can do this. Add new post. No, I don't want to do that. Edit home. Maybe I don't have it up there. Let me try something real quick. If you see something you're not supposed to see, then that's just the way it goes. Oh, no, this is fine. Okay, I can show you this. All right, so there's a little bit of editing going on, but you get the idea. YouTube shows, Unleashed podcast, 3 reasons Ayuk won't be traded. So I wonder if it's going to let me go to that, or if this because we're working on something here. No, it's not going to. Oh, yeah. Let me see. Let me click on this. Let me see if it'll go. There's John Lund merch right there. We're editing this, so I don't know that it's going to let me go there. But anyway, point being, 3 reasons why Brandon Ayuk isn't going anywhere, and a look at the 49ers finances. If you go to JohnLundUnleashed.com, you can see that. You can see that whole thing, and we've gone over it. So as a show, we've gone over that whole thing. So again, keeping in mind that Adam Schefter is saying essentially that the 49ers are going to have a fire sale. All right, so before I show you the numbers here, as far as Brandon Ayuk is concerned, just real quickly, not to bore you with numbers, not so that the eyes in the, the pupils in the eyes, they roll back in your head and you fall asleep in this whole thing. They're already eating $31 million, tasty dollars, of Deebo Samuel's contract to trade him to Washington. Now, that's offset by his salary, so they're going to have a net loss of Deebo in 2025 of $15 million. They did not want to compound the problem of Deebo Samuel not fitting on this roster anymore. So they decided to eat $15 million. So they can do that. That's their prerogative. They want to get younger. They want to get cheaper. They don't want to spend as much money. But part of this process, I'm going to play Steve Young for you in a minute that I played a little bit yesterday. Jed York is pissed off about getting pushed against the wall by Bosa's representatives, pushed against the wall by Ayuk, and he's going to get pushed against the wall with Brock Purdy. And we're going to talk about Brock Purdy in a minute in the first offer. But if he's so upset about Brandon Ayuk, then he would have to eat another $18 million, okay, $18 million to trade him. And long story short, they'd pay another $11 million not to have Brandon Ayuk play for him this year. So you're already paying net $15 million for Deebo not to play, net $11 million for Ayuk not to play. So on your cap in the season that you're trying to re-sign Brock Purdy, you're going to already have a net negative between 2 wide receivers of $26 million. You've already got dead money on there from Eric Armstead. If you go to that piece, you can read it. You have dead money on there from Javarius Ward of about $12 million. They have about $60 million. People don't realize this. They have $60 million of dead cap. And that includes Javon Hargrave, who apparently is healthy, and he's going to get paid $7 million this year not to play for the 49ers. So people don't think about that. So now they've already got $60 million in dead cap space in players who are not going to play for them this season. So then because you're so pissed off about the Brandon Ayuk deal, you're going to add $11 million onto that when you're already you're paying Deebo $15 million not to play for you. And again, that's net. It just doesn't make sense. Plus, I talked about this yesterday. The stock of Brandon Ayuk has never been lower. I'm not the brightest guy in the bulb. I'm not Jim Cramer going crazy over stocks, but I know enough to say that I'm not going to trade that stock at its lowest point. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to hold it. The lowest point. Brandon Ayuk's worth what right now? Injured. 3rd round pick, maybe a second. If maybe you're right in the deal, maybe a second, maybe a third. Whereas if he's healthy a year from now, 27-year-old Brandon Ayuk, who's not getting older and is still athletic, so you want to get younger, athletic, etc. Brandon Ayuk a year from now, okay, you still don't like him and you're pissed off about the deal. Then you're going to pay $12 million to get rid of him. And you're going to net about 6 out of that. So it's going to be about half as much to get rid of him, or half a hit to get rid of him. And don't you need somebody to catch passes this year? I mean, Ricky Pearsall's unproven. Juwan Jennings, we'll go draft one. Great. 50-50 in the draft. We're going to get Davante Adams. You think Davante Adams is going to give you a discount? 2024 was the year of the wide receiver. All these guys got paid. 2025 seems to be the year of undoing the year of the wide receiver. Cooper Kupp's getting released. CeeDee Lamb had to have his deal redone so that the Cowboys could sign a lineman. Davante Adams is out. Debo's been traded. Seattle's talking about potentially trading DK Metcalf. By the way, they're already going to let go of Tyler Lockett. Look at this number right here. These are the top 5 paid wide receivers before Davante was let go. Davante Adams gone. CeeDee Lamb restructured. DK Metcalf has to have a restructure. The Seahawks are going to let go of Tyler Lockett. The Rams are going to let go of Cooper Kupp at nearly $30 million. I'm looking at cap number, not cap spent. Look at cap number. The top 5 in cap number for wide receivers in 2025. Adams cut, CeeDee Lamb restructured, DK is going to get a restructure, and Lockett's going to get cut, and Cooper Kupp's going to get cut. Remember all that money that the NFL was throwing around to wide receivers last offseason? They're going, oh, damn. The game's one on the inside, not the outside. What were we thinking? And I thought the same thing is like, look, and this is where I know Jed York's mad that Brandon Ayuk got the $30 million, which, by the way, not to get too deep into this, it's a 3-year, $76 million deal. In the 4th year of Brandon Ayuk's contract, it balloons to $42 million. He's never going to see that money. So it's a 3-year, $76 million deal. It's pretty much the same that Debo got a couple of years ago. It's the same that McLaurin got a couple of years ago, 3 years, 72. DK Metcalf got a 3 and 71. So it's really not that big of a contract. Everyone freaking out that it's $30 million. It's 25.3. It's still a boatload of money. But the only reason it's 4 and 120 is for the ego of the agent, so the agent could go out and say he got it, and for the ego of Brandon Ayuk to say he got it. $76 million guaranteed is what it is. It's an incredible deal. 4th year of the deal, they can get out of it for $9 million, which they'll do if they don't like the deal, and they're going to restructure it anyway because Brandon Ayuk's not seeing a $42 million cap hit. So to put that in perspective, so that's the receiver thing. Is the receiver? All these guys got paid. And all of a sudden in 2024 was the year of the wide receiver. 2025 teams are going, what? We did that? What, were we drunk? If it was this year, there's no way the Niners would give him that money and they would have traded him because there's a big time market. But they did, and so it's going to be a hit. I just don't think Brandon Ayuk's they're going to take the hit on Brandon Ayuk like they did with Debo already. Somebody's got to catch passes, and the stock has never been lower. That's why I don't think Brandon Ayuk's going anywhere. So that addresses what Adam Schefter said right there. Now, here's the other part of what Adam Schefter said. He basically said that the 49ers are having a fire sale. Okay, so let's just take a look for the heck of it. All right. You see Fred Warner there? They could let Fred Warner go because if you look at the cap number versus the dead cap, that number, if the number on the right, the first number so all the way to the end, see that first pink number? It says 28 and his cap number is 29. So at that point, it's very minimal. So if they wanted to let Fred Warner go, they actually could, and it wouldn't cost much. But then you need a middle linebacker, right? So Fred Warner is the emotional leader of this team. He's not going anywhere. So I'm just going fire sale. Okay, who's Adam Schefter talking about? Basically saying the Niners are going to have a fire sale. All right, Fred Warner, that number is way too big, though. That $29 million, that cap number, that's going to be restructured. And it's in the player's contract that they have to restructure. They don't have to take a pay cut. A restructure is different than a pay cut. He's not going to be asked to take a pay cut. George Kittle just showed how valuable he is to this team again and again and again. His number jumps from 12 to 22. He's getting an extension. You see the number there for Trent Williams. Is Trent Williams going to be part of the fire sale? Well, his cap number is $55 million and his salary is $21 million. So again, I'm not a math guy. That's a $34 million cap hit. Not happening, right? Nick Bosa's not going anywhere. He's not part of it. Brandon Ayuk, I just told you. Leonard Floyd, that's interesting. You could let him go or you could trade him. So Floyd could be part of it. Hargrave already is. Gross Matos is going to be cut. They're going to save $3 million there. McCaffrey's deal just got done. He's coming off an injury. He's not going anywhere. Juszczyk's going to get cut, $3 million. Lenore just signed a big deal. Again, look at the number there. It's a $7 million cap hit, but he's going to play corner. He's not going anywhere. Purdy's going to get signed to an extension. He's not going anywhere. And then I don't care about the rest of these guys for the most part. Juwan Jennings has a $4.2 million cap hit next year. Why would you trade him? He's one of the biggest bargains in the NFL, so he's not going anywhere. So, look, I'm not saying Adam Schefter doesn't know and doesn't hear things. He does. But this great bloodletting of the 49ers has been greatly exaggerated because either a player is in the category of Warner and Kittle and Trent and Bosa and what I think is Ayuk. I mean, he could get traded. There's no doubt, but I don't think he is. Hargrave's already being released. Floyd could be, especially if you draft an edge rusher. Gross Matos is going to be released. McCaffrey's not going anywhere. Juszczyk's going to get released. Lenore just signed his deal. Purdy's signing a deal. McKivitz, whatever. Collins, whatever. Juwan makes 4.2. He's not going anywhere. Odom's going to save you 1.5 when they cut him. Brendel, whatever. Burford. So then let's get down to the Jake Brendels of the world. Okay. Ooh, the great bloodletting. Jake Brendel, Spencer Burford, Jordan Elliott. Persaw's not going anywhere. He's on a rookie deal. Drake Jackson's getting cut. They'll save $1.5 million there. Jair Brown, go for it. See my point? This top-heavy team, which they are, and they are trying to get younger, more athletic, and they're trying to have less money to some of these guys. Trent Williams is probably retiring at the end of this year. Nick Bosa's not getting traded. Plus, again, look at the cap number there. $72 million is the number on the far right. $20 million is the cap. That's a $52 million cap hit. Now, look, I can hit post June 1 and we can get really deep and dorky into these things. If you want to do that, David Lombardi's a lot better than I am at it. I just know enough to be dangerous. But my point here is this. I wanted to bring this up because I had this on and I was going to explain this to you without popping this up. And I don't want to be overly number statty to you. But he's talking about a bloodletting for the 49ers. Warner's a restructure. Kittle is an extension. Williams isn't going anywhere. Bosa, like I said, Williams and Bosa way too big a cap hits. Ayuk, I doubt it. Floyd could be one, no doubt. Hargrave already is. Gross Matos is going to get cut. McCaffrey's not going anywhere. Juszczyk's going to get cut. Lenore just signed. Purdy's going to get signed. After that, only Jawan Jennings, who makes $4.258 on the cap next year, which he's not going anywhere. Somebody's got to catch passes, and he's one of the best bargains around. And then after that is the bloodletting McKivitz and Malik Collins and George Odom and Jake Brendel and Spencer Burford and Jordan Elliott. Go for it. You want to let those guys go? Whatever. That's not the engine. The engine is at the top there. And I doubt any of those guys are going anywhere. So this bloodletting that Adam Schefter is talking about, he's got 32 teams to cover in the league. I get it. He doesn't have to be an expert on all of them. And he's just being told certain things. And so what he's doing is think of it like a book. And there's excerpts out of the book. And you read those and you go, well, either this is a good book or it's not a good book. That's what he's getting from each team. Adam Schefter gets great information. I'm not saying he doesn't. But he's not deep diving into every single team. He can't. It's impossible. So what he's getting is the information. We could let this guy go. They're listening. Okay. What does John Lynch always say? And what has John Lynch always said since he's become the general manager of the 49ers? We'll listen on anybody. So did Adam Schefter break any news? He seems to break less and less news, and it's more about opinion. They'll listen on anybody. The Niners have always said that. One of the great things about the 49ers front office under John and Kyle is they pursue everyone. Doesn't mean they're going to get them, but they try to pursue everyone in every angle, and they'll listen on anybody. But if you're a general manager who won't listen on everybody, what the hell are you doing? What's your job? Your job is to pick up the phone and listen. People listen on LeBron James. People listen on Steph Curry. People listen. If you say, one of my least favorite terms in all of sports is that player is untouchable. Untouchable. Nobody should be. Nobody should be untouchable. Why? If I'm offering you X, even for Steph Curry's not getting traded this offseason. I mean, Jimmy Butler has changed everything. But untouchable, what? Now, if you're that, like in Steph Curry's case, he would have to ask to be traded because he is so intertwined in what the Warriors do and the marketing of it and the sales, the business side of it. Like Steph Curry in and of himself is a business. He's an entity. He's a brand. So for the Warriors to trade Steph Curry is not just like trading a player. You're trading all these different things that affect every part of the organization. So that's something where, like, you're not trading a Steph Curry at a deadline. If you ever traded a Steph Curry, it'd be the offseason, and you're getting certain players in, and then you got to market to people so they don't freak out and cancel their tickets. Like, that's a different ball of wax. That's totally, totally different. I don't think players should be untouchable at all. Like when and I've said this a million times in the show, when I heard the Warriors say that Brandon Podjemski he's a solid player. was untouchable. I went, well, they're not serious. Then they're just not serious about anything. And no player is untouchable. If somebody called up and said, look, I don't know, the Jets at number 7, who I don't think they have an opportunity to get either Sanders or Ward, and not that I'm convinced on either of those guys, and the Jets said, Brock Purdy 4, it's not like John Lynch would hang up. Or I'm not listening. Like, of course he's going to listen. Brock Purdy for 2 number 1 picks, Quinnen Williams and Garrett Wilson. Yes, please. Done. You give me 2 number 1s, Quinnen Wilson and Garrett Wilson, I'll take it. And then I'll call Sam Darnold's agents and say, can Sam come back? Because I just got Quinnen Williams, Garrett Wilson, the 7th pick overall, and New York's pick next year. Brock Purdy's not off limits. It's exactly what Adam Schefter just said. The Niners are listening. What's John Lynch's job again? General manager. What do? Listen. What do? Pick up the phone. So he's not breaking any news. It's everyone's going to freak out. And all these headlines are going to be on YouTube podcasts and YouTube shows and everything. Schefter says there's a fire sale. Woo! I just showed you. Who's going? Like, what guys are going? What fire sale is he discussing? I'm here to say that, look, if Brandon Ayuk gets traded, I'll be the first to go, yeah, I was wrong. But he's a diminished stock. Somebody's got to catch passes. He's 27. He's coming off an injury. It's not like teams are beating down their door because let's say I'm a team looking for a receiver. We do this all the time in the show if you're new. We look at it from the other team's perspective. All right, I'm the Patriots. The Patriots are the most desperate team in the league for a wide receiver. They have the worst wide receiver core. Statistically, they have the worst wide receiver core. They were all over Brandon Ayuk. They were going to give Brandon Ayuk the most money of any. I think they were going to give him an AAV of $32 million. End up getting 30, which, as you well know now because you watched the show, was actually 25.3, 3-76. But they were going to give him like 32 AAV, dummy years, all that stuff, whatever. And they were all prepared to do it. The Niners were like, yeah, we'll take your high second-round pick. What was it, second, third pick? But they need a wide receiver for Drake May, who looks like he's pretty good. What was he, the 3rd pick last year, whatever he is? Young quarterback. They need weapons. They need weapons more than anybody in the league. They have the least amount of weapons in the league. Even as desperate as the Patriots are, Drake May needs a receiver right now. Brandon Ayuk's going to be ready when. So who's going to actually throw out something that the 49ers could feel good about while also eating a bunch of money like they did with Debo for a team that's trying to re-sign their quarterback in the offseason? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Because what happens is people throw this out there. A guy like Schefter throws it out there. They'll listen on Ayuk. Well, of course they will. It's their job. If John Lynch doesn't listen, if John Lynch doesn't take calls, if John Lynch gets offended when somebody asks for Nick Bosa and hangs up, then he's not doing his job. Hey, John, I want to talk about Nick Bosa. I'm listening. Well, that's what he does. He listens. Now they're going to take, like I showed you, they're going to take a $50 million cap hit on him. So if you're going to get Nick Bosa, you might want to start with a couple of number 1s and some other things, because now I got to eat a bunch of money on Nick Bosa. I really don't want to do that. So he's going to listen on everybody. So sorry to get so technical on it, but as I pointed out there, it's just on this whole thing, it's hard for them to make moves and not eat a bunch of money. There's a couple of moves they could make, but this whole thing about this concept of a fire sale for the 49ers, I'm just not buying it. Now, having said that, let me play a little bit of Steve Young. And if you were with us yesterday on the show, you know this. And I'm not going to play the part about Brock Purdy. I just want to, because Steve is dialed in. You got to understand that if Steve Young is saying something, Steve Young is not making it up. Steve Young saw or heard this, talked to somebody about this. This is too intricate information for Steve Young to just throw this out there. So Steve, who, by the way, will, I believe, still on the regular, join Tommy's show, as we are an hour and a half into the show today. Bay Area Sports Collective, they have sent the, before I play Steve for you, they have sent the where it is right here, the press release out so I can actually talk about it. But there you go. Bay Area Sports Collective, my show, as you can see on there on the left, Tom Tolbert and Pauly. So we've kicked off with those 3 shows. Please make sure, in addition to John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, that you're following Bay Area Sports Collective. And I do think, I got to double check on Pauly's show today, but Tommy will be on at 1 o'clock on the Tom Tolbert show today, 1 o'clock. So make sure that you tune in for Tommy. And there you go, Bay Area Sports Collective. Make sure that you
join that page as well. All right, so let me play Steve Young for you. I'm going to just play a little bit, and this is a window into how the 49ers are approaching this offseason, and I would trust this a lot more than I would of what Adam Schefter just said.
York and John York and Denise, DeBartolo York, we're all in. And I think what happened with Nick Bosa and then with Brandon Ayuk changed the nature this year of how they are going to go about it. I don't think they were really appreciative of how that went down and how they got pushed. And I think that they're going to, you almost feel like a lot more declarative statements coming out. And I think that's not going to change Brock's situation. It's just that you have to have the background. It's not the same mentality that in the last couple of years. I think there's going to be a little more rigor to it all. And that's okay. Back to Brock.
Okay, so back to Brock, and he's talking about it. And I'm going to talk about Brock just because apparently a lot of people don't understand how negotiations work, so I'll explain them and in Brock's situation. But that's going to be a perfect segue. So I played Schefter. I got Brock's first offer up there on the chalkboard. I already did losing BA doesn't help. I don't know that I addressed no Devontae, but we'll get into that as well, and undoing the wide receivers. We're kind of at the point where it's Jed is mad, so I'm kind of hopping around here, and I apologize for that. But the point where it says Jed is mad, which is about 3/4 of the way down the chalkboard there, and it's not in an English way. Jed is mad. It's not that. It's, as Steve Young just said there, and Steve Young doesn't just throw stuff out. Steve just said Jed York is pissed about getting pushed to the wall by Nick Bosa's people. And remember, that didn't get done until early September. It was the early in the week of week number 1 a couple of years ago. And then Brandon Ayuk still got done on August 29th last year, a month into training camp. The only thing I'd say about that in regards to Jed is you didn't have to pay Brandon Ayuk $30 million. And I'm not saying this as hindsight is 2020 and he got injured and all those kind of things. I never understood it, and I scratched my head the whole time going, again, it's a 3-76. But at the time, we thought it was 4-120, and we said $30 million a year, and he's not worth it. Quarterbacks have leverage. Sam Darnold's going to get paid a ton of money, maybe even Daniel Jones, a number of these guys. Anybody who shows promise. They're talking about Joe Milton, a quarterback on the Patriots who's hardly played, but he's got a rocket arm, so people are like, maybe he's the sleeper because they're so desperate. We've gone over this a million times. There's 3 elite quarterbacks in the league, and on any given Sunday, there might be as many as 10, and that's about it. And so most of the teams are going to get mediocre, medium, okay quarterback play week to week. And if you have to overpay for those guys, like Brock Purdy's going to do to the Niners, and you get them over a barrel, which Brock is going to do to the 49ers this offseason, it's just what it is because you just don't have a lot of options. Now, would the 49ers call Darnold's camp? I guess there could be a little bit of something there, but I doubt it. Aaron Rodgers is not, don't even start. Aaron Rodgers' ego wouldn't even fit in the building. Shanahan has a massive ego. Those two are not working together. They're not. So that's not it. That's going to be a problem. So leverage is minimal when you're talking about a quarterback, but wide receivers, they come into the league every single year. And I'm just saying in terms of Ayuk, like if Ayuk's not around and with the injuries to Ayuk early in the season, when it's Juwan Jennings and an unproven Ricky Pearsall, and don't give me Cowing, he's just, I don't see it. He's too thin. He's a special teamer. I don't know what they're going to do at the receiver position, let alone if they were to trade Brandon Ayuk, which they eat the money, then Ayuk's not there. I think he's only going to miss the first few games. I don't think he's going to miss the first half of the season. So we'll see. And I don't trust a rookie wide receiver. I don't. Now, if you want to give me a rookie wide receiver in that like Pearsall situation where I had guys and Pearsall can ease himself in, and by year 2, year 3, I start relying on these guys, that's fine. But they are going to have to look in the veteran wide receiver market are the 49ers. I think that's the way they're going to replace Ayuk early in the season, not with a rookie. But having said that, the leverage of a rookie coming into the league doesn't demand that they shouldn't have had leverage last offseason. I was thoroughly confused by all of that. Everyone giving all these guys money. I understand it from a Cowboys perspective. They really didn't have anything else. Justin Jefferson's different. I don't put CeeDee Lamb in the Justin Jefferson part of the conversation. Jamar Chase, I think, is just a step below, but he's going to want $40 million from the Bengals. But receivers come in every single year. You can build a receiver core. You really can. And you can do it through the draft. I just don't want to rely on them their rookie year. They get into it second, third year. Like, look at Jackson Smith and Jigba in Seattle. His first year, they threw a bunch of smoke routes to him. His yards run per route weren't really good. This last year, the guy just blew up. Jackson Smith-Njigba was one of the best wide receivers in the league. He was incredible. It was his second year. He slowed down. Everything slowed down. The second year, I'll start relying on you. As a rookie, you're a lottery ticket. This is what you are. And I've said this a million times. In the draft, it's 50-50 in the first round and goes down from there. And we know this. We're trying to, Buckner to Javon Kinlaw. It's like, it didn't work. It's 50-50. That's just the way. That's in the first round. It's 50-50 and then just goes down from there, even though the Niners have done great in the mid rounds. So to just sit there and rely on receivers is a problem. But there's also the point where a bunch of them are going to come into the league, and it's not like the quarterback situation where it's just you just have to eat it. And so to go back to what Steve said there is going to be acrimony. There are going to be issues. There are going to be reports. I'm just here to kind of let you know how this is going to go, even though you already know. I'm just here to remind you. Then when it comes to the Brock Purdy situation, as you just pointed out there, so Jed's mad about getting pushed to the wall with Bosa. He kind of had no other choice. That's an elite position in the league, very important. You got to have your edge rushers. You got to re-sign Nick Bosa. They did it. Brandon Ayuk was his choice to give him that kind of money. I wouldn't have done it. I wasn't a believer in it. I think that they could have gotten other guys, but he had to agree to it as well. It was just a very sticky situation. And they ended up keeping the guy, and they're not happy about it. But I think they're in too deep to be able to trade him. And then it comes to Brock Purdy, and this is where we're going to go to Brock's first offer in the middle of the chalkboard there. Brock's first offer. So it comes out, and actually I know this guy. I'm going to try to get him on the show. He does a talk show with one of my friends in Baltimore, Jason LaCanfora, who used to be with CBS. I don't know if he's there anymore. He says 49ers playing hardball with Purdy is very on brand. Starting your offers at $45 million a year is something, which is laughable because we all sit there and go, God, if I could make $45 million, but I guess it's all in perspective. So that's what Jason LaCanfora is saying, former NFL insider, and he may know somebody within the 49ers, or this is actually coming from the agent. It's not coming from the 49ers. So this is coming from Brock's agent to throw it out there. What he means by on brand is that's the 49ers. That's Parag Marathe. Now, I don't know how much you know about negotiation in general in business. I'm going to let you know a little secret. Negotiations start low. They always do. If I had taken them personally in my almost 30 years of radio when I got a first offer, and early in my career I did, and I had an agent, and I would scream at my agent, how could they possibly be offering me that? Look at the ratings, look at the numbers, look at the revenue, look at the, and he would always, he was an older guy, and he would always tell me, and I'm in my 20s at this point, late 20s, and I would take it personal. I'd go shop this across the street. I'm going to go across the street to another sports station, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to leave the market. I don't care. I'm not going to work for that. And he would always tell me, the first thing he'd tell me is after I calmed down from screaming and yelling, he would always tell me, it's a first offer, dude. It's a first offer. Relax. It's a first offer. That's what they do. So when this comes out, and again, all these aggregators on social media and people who cover the 49ers, and they put this big thing out because they all want to get clicks. Oh, an insulting offer, which, by the way, is laughable. When somebody says $45 million is insulting, stop it. Okay, first of all, just stop it. I know that the quarterbacks are getting paid $55 and $60 million, but in the society we live in nowadays, please do not put next to an insulting offer and $45 million in the same sentence. Please don't do that, because it's not. It's not insulting, but it is a first offer. And Brock Purdy is not given a hometown discount. And Adam Schefter reported that maybe the Niners wouldn't go as high. They don't have a choice. And you got to understand, not only from a standpoint, okay, so that's part of it. $45 million, if that's true, opening offer, I wouldn't have expected anything else. Why? Here's the whole thing. Why would you start at 50 or 55? If you want to finish it at 55, you wouldn't even start at 50. You'd start at 45. Because then his agents go, are you kidding? It's got to be 65. Now we're at 55. 45, middle of 65, 65, 45, 55. That's probably where they want to end up. So, of course, you're going to say 45 because his side's going to say 65. What do you want to pay? 55. What's the middle? 55. Like, my God, stop. Like, these people they just throw stuff out. Oh, my God, what an insult. Don't say insult and $45 million in the same sentence. Second of all, understand in the slightest how negotiations work. That's where it starts, always. We've all been there. You have a job. Maybe, but that's just where it goes. All first offers are low. That's just how it is. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, you've got to remember how this works too. So they all were friends and everything was great. And Kyle said how great he was. And I'll go back to when Mike McGlinchey became a free agent with the 49ers and I was down there and now we're all sticking our mics in his face. And he went from wearing 49ers gear every single day. And his sweatshirt said, I can't remember the name of his agency, who his agents were, but it had their name across the front. And it wasn't an accident that he did that. He was saying it. He basically was making a statement that said, we're in negotiations now. I'm not on the 49ers. My team is, and whatever, it was his, whatever corporation. It was his agents that were now on his sweatshirt. That's part of the negotiation. Nobody's angry. Nobody's mad. The whole reason why you have an agent, and I learned this early in my career because I tried to negotiate my own contracts, and then you start taking it personal because they tell you things you don't want to hear. You can't take anything personal. So like Jed York, for example, is mad about the Ayuk stuff, or he's mad about the Bosa stuff. Got to get over it. It's not personal. It never can be personal. You can't make it that way. So Brock gets a $45 million offer. Brock's even keeled. He's got a smart family. His dad played pro baseball. He knows that this is not a big deal, that this is where negotiations start, but people go crazy on social media. How can they offer? What were they going to do? Offer him $60 million as the opener? That's how business works. You don't offer 60. They want to end up around 50 to 55. So what do you offer? You don't offer 50 to 55 if that's what you want to, if that's where you ultimately want to be. You offer 45. They counter back and forth, blah, 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 blah. That's how it works. And then as far as the niceness is concerned, you won't hear John Lynch say a lot of nice stuff about Brock Purdy moving forward. You won't hear Kyle Shanahan say how much he loved him like he did in the press conference a couple of months ago. You won't hear Brock's side say anything nice about the Niners or anything like that. And then what's going to happen there is, mark my words, because this is a negotiation and this is how negotiation works. So let's throw the money out for a minute. I just explained that. Where this will start to happen is Brock's going to do, I don't know, events and things like that and charity stuff. And so's Lynch and so's Kyle and so's certain people who represent the 49ers. And then you're going to hear Adam Schefter and all sorts of insiders say, yeah, they didn't say nice things about Brock, or he says they're far apart, or he said that's what they do. And I told you about this like a week or two ago. These insiders get used. So they want to get something out. So somebody calls somebody, and normally it's an agent. Yeah, the negotiations with the Niners just aren't going very well. You know, they're just not. Adam Schefter is reporting that the 49ers and Brock Purdy are not having great negotiations right now, and they're at a standstill and nobody's at the table. That's meant to get out there. Because anything the 49ers don't want to get out there, it doesn't get out. Now, an agent's a totally different story. So you're gonna hear animosity. You're gonna hear that both sides aren't close. You're gonna hear that you're not gonna hear nice things. How come they're not saying nice things? Remember a couple of months ago when Kyle Shanahan said all those nice things about Brock Purdy? Why is he not saying those things anymore? Because now it's a negotiation. Now it's serious. That's what happens. Now, what I expect to have happen is, I think it's going to be around $55 million AAV. It'll probably get pushed a little bit higher. Jed's going to be pissed. Quarterbacks have leverage. And then we're going to look at the contract. And all you're going to have to do when you look at the contract, and I tell you this all the time, look at when the thing just turns into it just blows up, right? It just rocket to the moon kind of payments. Contract's over. So first year for Brandon Ayuk, the cap number was $7 million. The second year, the cap for Brandon Ayuk is this year, 10.75. Next year, it's around $16 million. Those are all fair numbers for Brandon Ayuk. And then the fourth year of the contract for Brandon Ayuk is $42 million. Never going to play under it. This year, Fred Warner, his number jumped on the cap, not in real money, on the cap from $12.6 million to $29.2 million. Fred's not playing under that. So they're going to extend the years. Why do they extend the years? Because then they can put the dummy money over the X amount of years, and they can lower his cap number. And you keep pushing that and kicking it and pushing it until you got to pay the bill. That's just how it is. And some people think the bill is due for the 49ers right now. I don't hold that opinion because they don't think they're out of the Super Bowl window. They'll keep kicking the can down the road and keep playing the credit card game until they feel like they're out of this thing. That's the way that the game works. So, for example, I'll give you a great example. The Cowboys yesterday, year of the wide receiver. Let's move down to that. Year of the wide receiver was 2024, and everybody got paid. CeeDee Lamb thinks he's Justin Jefferson. He's not. It's just there's nobody else on the team. And so I'm not saying he's not really, really good, but he's not Justin Jefferson. But they paid him a boatload of money, and they went, uh-oh, the defensive lineman that they have to pay, Ozo, big name, they just paid him a ton of money. How did they pay him a ton of money? They restructured CeeDee Lamb's deal, and so much so that Jerry Jones is so stupid that he gave him a no trade clause for restructuring a contract, which in all contracts they can do. And what they do when they restructure is they give you a big chunk of money, literally give you a big chunk of money. They call it a signing bonus. They add years to your contract, which are void years, dummy years, so that they can extend that money over those years, drop your cap number, and you get a big bunch of money in your bank account. And then his agent throws out, hey, Jerry, how about giving us a no trade? Okay. Like, I already gave you, did you a favor. I just gave you a bunch of money. We extended your deal. You know, you're getting money. But what that's called is kicking the can down the road. And it's a credit card bill that at some point becomes due, but they can constantly manipulate that whole thing. That's probably too much. That's probably more than you needed to know. But what I'm saying is that the year of the receiver, where everybody was throwing around money to a receiver, and then everybody realized in the Super Bowl that the Eagles won it in the trenches. And so now teams are going, okay, Cooper Kupp, you're gone. Hey, Davante Adams, you're gone. Hey, DK, we got to redo your deal. You know, Lockett's deal, finally. That's, like I said, Taylor Lockett's deal is $32 million on the cap this year, but he's got no more guaranteed money, so he's gone. So it's all this funny money that's being thrown around as far as that goes. Brock's going to get paid, but this whole thing about Brock's first offer and a guy like Locke and Forrest saying it's very on brand. If I was the 49ers, I'd take that as a compliment. They're tough to negotiate with. There's no question, which means there's going to be ugliness that comes out of this. There's going to be parts where you're going to hear from insiders that they're at a standstill, that they're not saying nice things, and the agent's going to throw things out there to try to get the ball rolling on negotiations and make the 49ers look bad, which they don't care about. And at the end of the day, you're going to hear a bunch of stuff, and negotiations start at $45 million if the ultimate number you want to be is $55 million. That's just how the whole thing works. So don't panic over all this stuff of Brock Purdy. The Brock's first offer, which I have at the middle, don't panic on it. You're going to hear negative stuff. An agent's going to throw things out. The first number is a number. If it had been higher than that, I'd have been like, what are the Niners doing? They want to get it to 55. That's the AAV they want to get. And there's dummy years on that, so it's probably not even going to be that high. I just explained it with Brandon Ayuk. All right. Sorry, a lot of numbers today. No Devontae LAC. That means LA Chargers. Devontae wants to get back to the West Coast. He went to Fresno State. I got a bunch of this in my inbox yesterday where people were talking about Davante Adams to the Niners. So let me get this straight. They're going to eat a bunch of money on Deebo Samuel, $15 million net, 31 dead cap, $15 million net. People want them to trade Brandon Ayuk at his lowest value, injured, coming off a knee, plus there's no one to catch passes, and they'd have to eat a bunch of money. So you want them to eat money on Deebo, eat money on Ayuk, and then turn around and pay Davante Adams a bunch of money and a big bonus and like $25 million a year minimum. He's 32 years old. Do you think that he thinks of himself that way? Did you watch receiver at all? Last year, was that on Showtime? He doesn't think he slowed down. If you asked him, he would probably say it was Aaron Rodgers' fault. He's not quite what he was, but he's got a high opinion of himself. And he's going to go, what do we say all the time on the show? Where's the money? It's 100% about the money. He's 32 years old. He's thinking to himself, yeah, I want to win, but damn, I don't have many years to do this left. He's 32. He's not coming to the 49ers for a discount. He wants to go to the West Coast. The Chargers are dying for a wide receiver. They have Ladd McConkey. That's it. And he's solid, but he's a complimentary wide receiver. Quentin Johnston down there has been terrible. He's tough. He's big. He'll block. I could see Jim Harbaugh loving himself some Davante Adams. I could see that. But the 49ers can't afford him. Like everybody that gets released, are they after that guy? After that guy? Wait a minute. Adam Schefter just said they're having a fire sale. Now, I just debunked some of the things that Adam Schefter said there. But still, they're having a fire sale, but let's sign Davante Adams. Like, what? I got whiplash from that. Save money. Okay. The mantra from John Lynch from the podium, which, again, they're not always telling the truth, but I do believe this. And then you just heard me play Steve Young saying, hey, they're going to be a lot more conservative. Steve knows what he's talking about. Didn't just pull that out of air. He's talking to people. So let me get this straight. They want to get younger. They want to get more athletic. They want to get their cap cost under control. Davante Adams is none of those things. In fact, he's the opposite of all of those things. He's 32. He's overpriced. He would fit. I mean, would I want to have Davante Adams for $5 million? That money that I'm paying for Juwan Jennings at 4.258 or whatever that bargain price he's getting, or Ricky Pearsall, I think his cap number next year is like 2.85. It's a 4-year, $12 million contract for Pearsall on his rookie deal. You want to play for one of those numbers? Yeah, good. He's not going to. Like, he doesn't see himself as a diminished product at 32. He sees that Jimmy Garoppolo was his quarterback with Vegas, as we saw on receiver, and it wasn't his fault with the Jets either. And he's going to want $25 to $30 million. And because there's enough desperate teams in the league, he'll probably get it. And it's not coming from the 49ers. 32, he's older. Getting injured lately. No, Niners don't like that. Going to cost a lot of money. Niners don't like that. Like, he's nothing for what John Lynch just said they want it to be. And then you just heard Steve Young say what they were going to do. And in the offseason where they're going to extend Kittle, restructure Warner, cut a bunch of guys I've showed you over the last couple of days who they're going to probably cut to save money. And then you want to turn around and think that Davante Adams, because he went to Fresno State, is going to give the Niners some kind of a hometown discount? Oh boy. And as I said, right there, NFL undoing the wide receivers. The year of the wide receiver was 2024. 2025 is not the year of the wide receiver. It's the year of realizing that the game is not one on the outside, it's one on the inside. And so Kupp's been released. DK trade rumors. Debo gets traded. They would trade Ayuk if somebody was crazy enough to give him like a first or a second round pick, but they're not going to do that. I don't see it whatsoever. So the year of the wide receiver, all of a sudden these teams are looking around. We're hearing A.J. Brown trade rumors. I know that Philly did it with a couple of really good receivers, but that's not why they won the Super Bowl. Anybody who watched the Super Bowl, they did it on the offensive and defensive lines. And all these teams are looking at themselves going, what are we doing? Like Miami. Tyreek Hill makes $28.7 million. I keep hearing that people want to get Tyreek Hill. $28.7 million. Even if Miami releases him, they eat a bunch of money. And again, they have Waddle and Hill. What did they win last year? Absolutely nothing. Say it again, nothing. So teams are starting to look at the wide receivers again going, what were we thinking? And a lot of us, and I know a lot of you were thinking the same thing, like, you're going to give Brennan Ayuk that money? And I already told you it's not 30, it's 25.3, but still it's a boatload of money. I wouldn't have done it. And Jed's so pissed off that he wants to undo it. And that's what a lot of teams are trying to do. All right. I haven't checked the chat line for a long time, but we went through all of that. 49ers fire sale, not so much. Shefty, Brock's first offer, if anybody knows anything about negotiation, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. We're going to hear a bunch of stuff. There's going to be animosity. People are going to run to their microphones and phones and make people panic. I'm not panicking. I don't care what I hear. It's part of negotiation, and everybody knows it. Losing BA doesn't help the cap this year. No Davante. NFL is undoing the wide receivers. By the way, I'm writing a piece at johnlundunleashed.com about undoing the year of the wide receiver, because it looks like that's what the league is trying to do. And they should have known that already. Jed is mad. That's where we're at. We're going to go to a little bit of spring training and a couple of other things as well. But let me get down to the chat line, because I probably didn't take a breath for 30 minutes there, which is probably not healthy. But I was going to take a drink of that, but it's gone. Coffee is probably cold, even though it's on it. Let me see. These Yeti cups are amazing. I mean, I would call that better than lukewarm, so I can drink that. When I was just bringing out the coffee cups before, it was like, I'd be 20 minutes into the show, and I got ice cold coffee, and I'm like, what is going on? Can't have that. Let's see. What do we got? Just want to double check. Yeah. Great to see you, Bees Knees. Miami paid their quarterback a bunch. If you're talking about the wide receivers, look, they'd love to get rid of one of their wide receivers as well. I just think a lot of teams are looking at this whole thing going, we screwed up on the outside. We need to make sure that we get back to the trenches, and it's really hard to undo things and keep signing guys, which I'm going to get into free agency in just a second, because I saw a couple of things. And about an hour ago, somebody got me going on something they hit up on the text line. So I want to make sure that I hit that, but I want to double check that I don't have anything else that I want to hit here. Hi, D-Lou22. Good to see you. Oh, Joy left us? What a bummer. Joy's got a lot of stuff going around the house, so I totally understand that. All right. Is that what you're, are you, is Is that your prediction on Brock? 305, 5, 180 guarantee. Oh, man. This is what I always say. Thank you, 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐞. It is great to have you. That's a great avatar. Do you think Brock's worth 55 for 4 or 5 years? I'm fond of a term that I use all the time. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be the latest. I mean, that's just what it is. Yeah, Brock Purdy is the latest. He's not the best. And that's the way that the league works. Jimmy Garoppolo was the highest paid quarterback at one point. Derek Carr was the highest paid at one point. It's not what they're worth. It's what the market bears. So Tua got 52. Jalen Hurts got 52. Trevor Lawrence got 55. I'm talking about AAV's average annual value. Brock's going to get that. He's the latest. It's actually, I misspoke. You don't have to be the greatest. You got to be the latest. Sorry. Took me a minute. You don't have to be the greatest. You have to be the latest. He's the latest, not the greatest. But he's going to get it because who in Brock's shoes, who is a contemporary of Brock's that got less than $55 million? And there's going to be added, just because it's another year, there's going to be a few bucks added onto it, like a 10% increase. So if you look at, like, Jalen Hurts, is he better right now? Would you rather have him? Sure, he just had a great season, but he's struggled at times, Jalen Hurts. So he's a comp for Brock Purdy. He's a different style, but he's a comp. Trevor Lawrence was a first overall pick. I understand what people are saying, but he's not better than Brock Purdy right now. Hasn't been. Maybe. He's got a new coach in 𝐬𝐿_Cohen, who was the offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay, and that's where Baker Mayfield was just really good. So we'll see if he bounces back, but he wasn't good last year. Wasn't better than Brock last year. Made 55. Tua's, I think, 52 a year. He's not better. Jordan Love's in the 50 to 55 range. He's not better. So would I be surprised if he got into $60 million? Yeah. But that's why the 49ers went to 45. If you're trying to get to 55, you don't start at 50. If you're trying to get to 55, you don't start at 52 or 55. You start at 45. That's why when I saw it yesterday and people are like, oh my God, they started at 45. You ever negotiate a deal? Ever? Let's start right on the number. Good luck. See how that, you get back to me and let me know how that works out for you. That's not what you do. Don't start there. You start way low. Believe me, if I said this about a half hour ago, if I had taken things personally, and it's why I had an agent my entire radio career, if I had taken things personally, if I had done things and negotiated my own deals, I would have taken things personally. I would have yelled and screamed and called people and management and general managers and people like that. I would have called them lots of dirty names. I can only think of in 27 years, one time where and I don't even think I took it personally. It was just this guy was a total jackass. Where a negotiation went so sour that I just went in the middle of it. Like, I guess there's nothing here. I guess there's just nothing here, and we're just going to have to move on. I've always been able to come to an agreement, and it got ugly at times, but I always made sure that I, tried to keep my head about me, and most times it worked. Like I said, I probably did in 27 years. Usually most contracts in radio were 3 or 4 year deals. So, I'm probably 8 or 10 negotiations, something like that, 8 or 10 negotiations. And there was only one time where we just had to walk away from the table because the guy was just being so unreasonable. But there were a lot of times early in my career where I was just like, oh, God. All right. Anything else we need to hit on today? Somebody talking about eggs. Hi, EB. Haven't seen you in a while. Eggs were $1 a dozen a year ago. Now they're 12. Ugh. Ugh. Yeah, it's going to cost more too. Is your beer like I don't even know what a beer is at a Niners game. What is it? $20, $25, something like that. Yeah, please do like and subscribe. I like it when you do it for me. These are good friends of mine from the East Coast Red and Gold podcast. They do a great podcast. I was on there a few weeks ago. If you're a Niners fan, that is awesome. Thank you, my friend. I don't know what I said, but thank you, D-Lou. I love that jersey. That's a great avatar that you got going there. So anyway, yeah, I am checking the chat. Sorry, I'm going back on it. If you check the chat, I just want to make the point the Giants can sign Davante Adams and still be $6 million under. How wild is that? Oh, the Giants can? I'm confused. The Giants could sign Davante Adams? Anyway, what I'm saying is in terms of the wide receivers, I just think it's funny. I was on a talk show yesterday in Seattle. So if you listen to Ian Furness and you're joining us today, I go on KGR in Seattle every Tuesday, and my pay is that I get to promote the show, which I like. And then we get a bunch of Seattle fans in here, which is really, really cool. And we were talking about DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is not going to get released. His deal is going to get redone, but they kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. It's kind of like Warner's deal. Warner's deal goes from $12.6 million to $29 million, that's a renegotiation. You know, right when you see that, like all you have to do to become a cap expert, go to overthecap.com or go to sportrack.com. And all you have to do is look at the number and then click on a guy's contract. And you go, okay. Oh my God. Like there's this number that jumps out and it's like, okay, that's a renegotiation. And what they do is they'll give you some money. They'll push a few dummy years on there and they'll bring your number down. And at some point, finally, you're so old or ineffective that they go, finally, we have to eat this at some point. And that's what you do. You eat it. But as I showed you before, like this thing about Adam Schefter saying there's just going to be this big fire sale is just not true. All right. That's enough. If you got any more questions, hit me up. If you got questions after the show too, I am more than welcome to. JohnLundUnleashed.com. Please hit me up, JohnLundUnleashed.com. At John Lund Radio. People are watching on X, Instagram. We're also on Bay Area Sports Collective on that YouTube channel. Please make sure you subscribe there. And John Lund Unleashed. We're on both YouTube channels plus Facebook as well. So any way that you're watching, we really appreciate that. Let me see if I can get Bay Area Sports Collective up there again. Hit that QR code, Bay Area Sports Collective, and you don't even have to leave the show. You'll click on that. It'll say, do you want to subscribe? And you'll say, of course I do. Because that's where Tolbert's show is too, and Paulie's show. So we've started that up. It is official. The other day, I think I screwed that up because I let the cat out of the bag a little bit early. It's called Bay Area Sports Collective. So make sure you check that out. And that's where all the shows are. There's the press release right there. Bay Area Sports Collective. My show's there. Tom's show's there. Paulie with Tony, Creative Tony. That show as well. Tom's show, I believe, is at 1:00. And we'll make sure that we're telling everybody what's going on. By the way, a couple of quick notes before I get into a couple of things from Giant Spring Training so far. That's going to be up later on today. I'm writing that right now at johnlundunleashed.com. It's not up yet, but 2024 was the year of the wide receiver. 2025's titles aren't won that way. They're won on the inside, not the outside. So if you looked at that, Debo's already gone. CD's already got a restructure. Adams is gone. Kupp's getting cut. The Dolphins would love to move Tyreek Hill. Justin Jefferson is awesome. He's the outlier to me. And then Brandon Ayuk, there's all this talk around Brandon Ayuk. So it's funny. 2024 was like, oh, receivers, everybody getting paid. 2025 is like, we got to get out of these deals, man. That's not how good titles are won. What are we doing? What are we, insane? What are we, crazy? All right, let me hit up one thing. And if you're new to the show, I gave out a warning, and I did this at johnlundunleashed.com so you can read that blog, where I just basically say don't overreact on spring training. So if a guy's great, wonderful. And on this piece on johnlundunleashed.com, I give you examples from last year. Like Logan Webb, for example, had a 10.97 ERA last spring training. I think he turned out okay. The A's had a prospect go 21 of 44 in spring training, and everyone was buzzing. Yeah, hit like 250 in AAA last year. There's guys, Paul Goldschmidt was terrible in spring training last year. He was terrible during the season. So it runs the gamut. There can be guys who have great spring training who left all their hits in Arizona. There can be guys who are terrible in Arizona, have great seasons. It just is across the board. So every single year, everyone reacts to something. Bryce Eldridge hits a home run. Their big prospect is first at bat, and then he strikes out 8 of his next 12 at-bats and is in minor league camp. Minor league camp, everyone's freaking out. Guy got put in minor league camp. Got put in minor league camp last year early, Elliot Ramos. So there's just nothing to glean outside of please don't get hurt. So if a guy gets his work in, and I used this example a couple of days ago, I'm watching the Dodgers and the Giants, and Freddie Freeman bounces out to short, the shortstop at the time, 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭, he wears 85 for the Giants, makes a nice backhanded play, chucks it over to first base, and Freddie Freeman is basically fast walking to first base. He doesn't want to get hurt. He's like, it's fine. I'm coming off, I think it was ankle or foot surgery or whatever it was for Freeman. He just doesn't want to get hurt. Just getting in some swings. That's spring training. Same thing. Guy doesn't do well. 𝐿encarnacion has just been crushing it for the Giants. We'll see. A great spring training does not mean you're going to make the team. It's all the other stuff they see around it, and you're playing in spring training quite well. We've seen guys be red hot in spring training. We've seen guys be terrible. There is no correlation. There can be guys who are great in spring training, terrible when the season starts, terrible in spring training, great when the spring starts. I have that up at johnlundunleashed.com. I showed you some examples from last year. So having said that, this to me is really, really interesting. I saw it yesterday. Landon Root, I really like. He was on with us last year a couple of times from the patio. Amazing curveball. Guy's great. Was the buzz of spring training last year, actually. So 8 1/3, which is less than a game. 8 1/3, 1 hit, 11 Ks, 0.24 whip. That's great. I mean, it's absolutely great. And some people saying he could be part of the, he could be part of the rotation, whatever. It's 8 innings. So, I mean, Philip Humber has thrown a no-hitter in Major League Baseball. That's a 9-inning game. I mean, we've seen it, right? So 8 1/3 is not very much. But, okay, let's just have some fun. Landon Roop's great. Now, look, I would love Landon Roop to be the 5th starter for the Giants and pitch like that, because that tells me, and one of my things that I'm on a soapbox about as far as the Giants, I'd love Jordan Hicks to be the 7th inning guy, and Duvall be the 8th, and Ryan Walker be the 9th, and hammer it down, man. That's a 6-inning game. I don't want Jordan Hicks to be a starter. I want Jordan Hicks to throw 102 miles an hour in the 7th inning. That's what I want him to do. And right now, he's just like last year. He's throwing like 3 innings here and there and everything. He's going to be a 5-and-fly guy. I can see it all over again. And he should be a 7th-inning guy. So if someone can emerge from this group, and Birdsong's throwing 98, and Harrison looks really solid, and Robbie Ray's had a nice spring to this point, even though he's not throwing a ton of innings, and Justin Verlander's not hurt, which is the key, and Logan Webb looks more like himself this spring, wonderful, even though he had a 10.97 last year and was fine during the season too. So I'm just here to warn you that that's great that Landon Roop is doing what he's doing, and I hope he continues it. I hope he's in the starting rotation, but it's 8 1/3. And so I read this yesterday, and I guess I didn't crop that correctly, but at the top of that thing, it said, should Landon Roop be in the rotation? And I'm like, based on 8 1/3 innings? That's where we are in this whole thing? So it's nothing against Landon Roop. It's just a reminder that we'll see. And the other big thing is, fans freak out when they see a guy be great in spring training and then he's not with the big club. And they're going, what did they see? There's all these other things. They're watching all the workouts and everything. It's based on last year. It's based on, and we talk about this all the time. I don't know who Landon Roop is throwing against. Is he throwing against guys who are already in minor league camp? Is he throwing against legit players? And as I told you about Freddie Freeman, okay, Freddie Freeman comes to the plate, but he's not Freddie Freeman. He's like 25% of Freddie Freeman. He's just getting swings in because he doesn't want to get hurt. Now, you hear about an injury, that's real, and that's legit. A guy gets hurt in the spring training, that's the number one thing. What players are trying to do is they're just trying to get their work in. They're already in shape. It's just they're trying to get their timing down. Now, did you hear that, for example, Logan Webb's working on another version of his changeup? Justin Verlander's working on a new pitch. So when you see somebody take somebody deep, it's like, well, is that new pitch he's working on? There's so many different factors when it comes to spring training. I'm just using Landon Roop as an example today, just because I'm like, okay. I mean, it's 8 1/3. It's great. It's Arizona. The ball. And here's the other thing. This is encouraging. The ball doesn't generally break as well in the desert air. So if Landon Roop has an awesome curveball, is pitching that well, it's encouraging. But I'm not putting did you see what Landon Roop did in spring training? What are they, insane? We'll see. There's that. I thought I had grabbed this for this. Okay, let me do this because I'm at the peeing in the shower portion. We're going to go sweet, clean, family-friendly caboose pistol here. But let me make sure that I've played everything that I have today. I have. Episode 77, Golden State at the Knicks. If you're tuning in and you're going, why aren't you talking Curry? We used the first hour of the show to talk about Curry. We will post the show. You could go back now, but we'll also post the show and we'll put chapters underneath. Like 5 minutes after the show's over, boom, we hit it. We'll put chapters, and then what you can do is you can click all around the show and you go back and watch it, and you can just talk. You can just watch what you want. But we went really deep into the Warriors at the Knicks. A lot of Curry talk today. One thing I didn't have in there was Shaquille O'Neal saying that Steph Curry belongs in the conversation of greatest of all time. Belongs in it. I love how he said that. Belongs in it. Doesn't mean he is. Just means he belongs in the conversation, and I agree with that. Give me your thoughts on that. I'm not putting him on a Mount Rushmore. I'm not putting him on a list. I'm not putting him number one. I'm not I'm just saying in the conversation, that's a good way to put it. So we had a lot of conversations. The thing about the Warriors that I think is they're legit. That's what I can say at this point. They're legit. Are they title contenders? Could be. I just think that Jimmy Butler has brought something to the table that has been absolutely amazing. And I hope that Jonathan Kuminga is watching with his glass ankle. The way that he has seamlessly come onto this team and added, as Steve Kerr said last night, an Andre Iguodala type presence and calmness makes the Warriors legit. Whatever that means, I think that's where I can go at this point. We'll get more and more information. But I just say this, if I'm in the Western Conference playoffs, and I don't know that they can sustain this over a number of series, that's the only question I would have because of their age. But I don't know. So I don't know, as Draymond Green turned 35 yesterday, I don't know if they can sustain it over a number of series. And right now, the 6-3 matchup would be Denver, which I don't love as a matchup. And I wouldn't love the Lakers as well either. But these young teams, even as good as Oklahoma City is, or Memphis is, who's 3-7 in their last 10, or Houston, who's slid back a little bit, none of those teams want to see Curry, Butler, Draymond, Podziemski's playing better. Kuminga hopefully can fold into this thing. They do not want to see that team. And that was a nice win last night. No Karl Anthony Towns. I acknowledge that 100%. But Steph Curry is magical in that building. And remember, Curry was taken 7th overall after the dumbasses in Minnesota took two straight point guards. But a lot of people don't talk about this. The Knicks were at 8, and Steph didn't want to come here. He wanted to go to New York. And so every time he goes there, he just rocks it. He was awesome last night. So anyway, that's the story on the Warriors. We talked a lot about it. 49ers fire sale, I think that is overblown. Adam Schefter talked about it, and I told you why I think it's overblown. Brock's first offer, which was $45 million, and everyone was freaking out. That's what a first offer is, everybody. Losing BA doesn't help this year. I said financially, no, they're not going to go and cut all these guys and make these statements how they want to get younger, more athletic, rely on the draft, and then sign Devontae Adams to a $25 million deal. Makes no sense whatsoever. NFL, and I'm writing about this at JohnLundUnleashed.com. 2024 was the year of the wide receiver. 2025 seems to be the year of undoing the year of the receiver. Jet upset as I played that from Steve Young about getting pushed to the wall by Bosa, pushed to the wall by Ayuk, which he didn't have to approve that one. He had the leverage. He's going to get pushed to the wall on Brock Purdy. Giant spring training so far. Landon Roop is the latest for everybody to be freaking out. I'm fine with it. I hope that Landon Roop continues to do it, but I'm just here to say that I'm not totally convinced because that's the way spring training is. I missed one thing that I got to go back up and hit. One thing I go up and hit because somebody hit me up. Let me go back to the NFL for 1 minute before I go to the peeing in the shower portion of the show. So why NFL free agency is so stupid, I tell you this all the time. NFL free agency is a lot of fun and everybody freaks out and it's not as good as it's been in the past, but there's always a flaw to a free agent. You want to, if you're an NFL team, draft, develop, sign your own. You know everything about them. You know their injury history. You know how they fit in your locker room. You want to sign your own. You don't want to go out on the first day of free agency like all these teams are going to do here in about 10 days and sign all these guys and everybody freaks out. You're the winner of the offseason. Tell him what he's won, Johnny. Oh, he's going to be doing the same thing next offseason. That's what they do. It's the same team making the same mistake. Well, why do they do that, Lund? Glad you asked. Because Aaron Banks, these are guys that are supposedly under the radar, right? Under the radar signings. You can read, but I'll read it for you. After the Chiefs placed a franchise tag on Trey Smith, Banks become one of the top guards, if not the position headliner. They go back to where he was drafted. And it says that the Panthers signed Robert Hunt to a whopping 5-year, $100 million deal, which I'm sure wasn't that. But still, how'd the Panthers do this year? Banks could land a contract in the similar range of 18 to 20 million per season. Really? Some team's going to be really disappointed. I mean, just free agency is stupid. I mean, it's just stupid money. You made a mistake. You didn't sign a guy. You drafted poorly. Let's dip into free agency where it's the same teams every year because they suck at this, signing guys for way too much money, and then somebody saying that Aaron Banks is going to make $20 million. $20 million. They sunk a second-round pick into him. That's great. He went to Notre Dame, so he's got all those things, but he wasn't good. Like, I don't care what they say, and I don't care what the numbers say. I watched enough to know they didn't move people in the running game. And Aaron Banks was a big part of that. He's going to make $20 million. Free agency is stupid. So then the other thing was, I've been pounding the drum for this guy. I'm like, Drew Dahlman, he's going to be a guy. Like I said, they're just not going to be able to afford him. I'm sick of seeing Jake Brendel on his ass during the entire game, but it says high-end centers don't usually hit free agency, blah, blah, blah. Stanford, blah, blah, blah. 40 career starts, blah, blah, blah. 26 was why I was excited about it. Annual salary of 13 to 14 million makes sense. Not for the Niners, it doesn't. So as I told you, the more that Drew Dahlman's name came out there, the more I became relegated to the fact that they're not going to get him. I thought he was an under-the-radar guy, but then he's in an article about under-the-radar guys, which means if you're in an article about under-the-radar guys, you're no longer under the radar. And then finally, one more. Why free agency is stupid. I thought, okay, Dre Greenlaw, and I showed you this yesterday. I'll pop it up again. Dre Greenlaw was shown as the second best linebacker on the free agent market, which means this is off of The Athletic, which means to me that he's not coming back. He's 28. I think the Niners want him on a one-year make-good deal. That's what I would do. And that's a good linebacker list, by the way. Bond's going to sorry, I popped that off. Bond's going to get paid. Ernest Jones, I think, is going to go back to the Seahawks. He's going to get paid. Nick Bolton, vastly underrated. J.M.E. Sherwood's the other guy that I'm going to talk about in just a second. David and Wagner are older. Kendricks, no thanks. Said no to the Niners and went to the Cowboys. Kazir White was good with the Eagles. So that's a decent list. But with Greenlaw being number 2 on that list, ahead of Jones and Bolton, who I think are really good, Sherwood, who's 25 and an up-and-comer, that surprises me because he's coming off a major injury and he has Achilles. I didn't think it'd be that high. But if that's how – this is just one guy's opinion with The Athletic. Doesn't mean it's the opinion. Coming off an Achilles, I think, is a major issue. So if Dre Greenlaw is that high on boards for teams and not just somebody writing it for The Athletic who thinks they know, if teams think that Dre Greenlaw is the second best linebacker available, he's getting more than a one-year deal, and the Niners won't be able to afford him. So that takes me back to, I've been telling you, free agency stupid. Another guy, quote-unquote, under the radar, but because he's in the under the radar column is no longer under the radar, is a guy that had been pounding the table for J.M.E. Sherwood. So it says right there, intrigue, 5th-round pick, 146, Jets, played for Saleh, 158 tackles, 11th best run defense grade, blah, 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 just turned 25. If Bond and Bolton can push up the linebacker market, Sherwood stands to benefit with a contract potential in the neighborhood of $12 million a year. So I wanted Dahlman. I wanted Sherwood. I thought they would be under the radar guys. And then you wrote about under the radar guys and you ruined it. So they're not paying. The Niners are not in a position to pay a center $14 to $15 million, even though they need one. They're not in a position to give Dre Greenlaw multiple years. And they're not in a position to give a guy like Sherwood, even though dictionary definition of what John Lynch said at the podium. Young guy, played for Saleh, 25, athletic. I thought they might be able to get him for, like $7 or $8 million a year. No chance. So that's off the board. I don't know what they're going to do in free agency. No idea. So that's that. Sorry, I forgot about that for a minute. Before I go to peeing in the shower, let me make sure that I don't have anyone on the chat line that wants to hit anything up. Hi, Joe Schmo. Good to see you. Let's see. What else do we have? I don't know. They say they're talking about $20 million a year. Ridiculous. I'm like, you go for it, man. You want to pay that guy $20 million a year? You're just going to release him in 2 years and say it was a bad signing. I mean, it's over and over and over again. It's constant, just constant. Okay. Yeah, Kyle's going to be in the draft room. I've seen it. I can tell you that. Yeah, DK has just been a monster. Like I said, I was on KJR in Seattle, and we were talking about DK, and you can hate him all you want, and he can be an emotional problem, but they have a new offensive coordinator. By the way, Clint Kubiak is in Seattle. Clay Kubiak is with the 49ers, and they're both offensive coordinators, although we know here that Kyle's going to call the plays. But if somebody at some point in Seattle decides that they want to get DK Metcalf the ball, that's going to be scary for everybody. Yeah. And like I said, I talked a ton of Curry today, just so everybody knows. Talked a ton of Curry. So you can either go back right now and watch it, or you can go and after we put the chapters up. But yeah, we talked, and Curry deserved it today. He was amazing, just amazing. Let's see. Who said they needed a mimosa? You're quoting that. Who said that? I could use one. Although I'm not a mimosa guy, I got to be honest. My wife loves mimosas. The flights, they do the flights of mimosas with the different flavors. And, she does light orange juice. I mean, literally where you can still see through it. She's like, can I have light orange juice? And if they don't come with light orange juice, like it's even dark, she's like, come on, man. Light. The only time I'll do mimosas around Christmas. And Christmas, we do a big thing. We do a monster breakfast with Belgian waffles, strawberries, whipped cream, bacon, the whole 9 yards. I'll break out a mimosa. That's like once a year I'll do that. That's the only time. Once a year. Okay. Let's do this before we get out of here today. On a Wednesday, I did the show. And remember, John Lund Unleashed, johnlundunleashed.com. I'll have that new piece up today. Let me do one more thing before we get out of here, too, because you're gonna all run if I do this last. This is my good friend, Dr. Jeffrey 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿. It's in San Ramon by me. Absolutely awesome group of people. Right there, 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿 Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. They are the fine sponsors of the program. If you would click on that QR code right now, because first of all, I use testosterone through them, and they are awesome. Now, look, I'm not Barry Bonds. They are doctors, and so you'll get your blood tested. Yep, you have low T, and it is awesome. They do just one procedure. It'll last about 4 or 5 months, and you'll feel absolutely amazing. You'll be popping out of bed. You'll be feeling 10, 20 years younger like I do. It is absolutely great, and you don't have to go in there and get shots. You've probably heard from people. It's very, very reasonable to do, and you're going to feel better. If you're not doing it, if you're feeling sluggish, if you're gaining weight, if you're doing these kind of things, you're getting older and you're denying it, you're going, hey, what's going on? I'm guaranteeing you it's your testosterone. Now, I can't guarantee you. I shouldn't guarantee you, but it's probably your testosterone. I'll just tell you that. And you're going to feel better if you go to see Dr. 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿. So if on your screen right now, you click on that QR code, it'll take you right to the website, and you'll be able to make an appointment. So that is one thing that I am doing. And then also my wife, and I've told you this, our freezer is just full of these contraptions and things that she uses on her elbow and her shoulders. She got bad shoulders, bad elbow, and she uses the stem cells. She does the stem cells. So you got the PRP, which they take the blood and they spin it, but then you smart bomb that stuff with the stem cells. You know how stem cell works. Awesome. She feels 1,000 times better. It's going on about 3 weeks now. She's feeling absolutely great. So if you've got any pain, could be your knee, could be your elbow, could be your shoulder, they're doing it anywhere. Check out Dr. 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿 and the stem cell. You're going to feel awesome. Click on that QR code right there, right now, and it'll take you right to the website. Find sponsor of the program, 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿 Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. Let me just put one thing with you, and then I'll give you the shower story. Let me share the screen with you really, really quickly, and I'll show you what it looks like when you just go there, because then you can tell you can go, okay, I know I'm at the right website here, right there. So that's what it looks like. So when you click on there, 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿cosmetic.com. If you can't get to the QR code, 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿cosmetic.com. There you go, right there, and all sorts of great stuff. So you got all sorts of people that have done all sorts of different things. They do all sorts of different procedures. You can even request a consultation or question. 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿cosmetic.com. That's what you're going to see. Treatments, conditions, before and after, testimonials, all those kind of things. Dr. Jeffrey 𝐸𝐴𝐵𝐿, fine sponsor of John Lund Unleashed. And to me, the testosterone is awesome. And for my wife, the stem cell, and I'm not kidding, has been life-changing. So make sure that you check that out. All right, here's the story on... Oh, here's the story. We all do this. Everybody says they don't, but they do. But here's the deal. Sweet, clean, family-friendly caboose pistol. Percentage of people who pee in the shower leaked in new study. I didn't even look at the new study, and I'm thinking to myself, everybody does. Like, I don't know if women do. That's what I would say. I think Joy left the room. Sports Girl for Life is like, get out of here. I don't want to talk to you guys about this. But I don't know what it is about you. I'll admit it 100%. I'm not going to say 100% of the time, but at least I get it to the drain. Like if I'm standing above the drain, I'm like, I don't want to, just randomly do it all over the place. But, it's a nice warm shower. We relax. I mean, it just happens every single time. I would say that 100% do. And if they don't admit it, like let's say that somebody says they don't, it's like, hey, come on. I mean, it's different. Like I'm not a pee in the pool guy. Never, never, never. Since I was like probably 12 years old, like you're not peeing in the pool. We have a pool. It's like, don't pee in my pool, man. But the shower, that's a different deal. You do it right by the drain, you wash it. That's no big deal. It just happens. I can go before I go in the shower. I'm still going to do it. Like just every time. It's not like peeing in the pool. It's totally different. It's not the same thing. So you can give me your thoughts on that as well before we get out of here at the end of the day. Everybody does it. Like nobody talks about it. I just saw that thing and I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah, pee in a river's fine. Pee in a river's fine. Oops, sorry. Pee in a river's fine. Hi, Papa J. Yeah, don't pee in my pool. Can't pee. Come on, man. I'll kick you out. Like I'm a nice guy. I just peed in my... Yeah, 100%. Like I didn't even look at the percentage. Like it's 100%. Like I don't know how women feel about it. I would think. I mean, it's just relaxing for everybody, right? It's relaxing for everybody. Yeah, I was in the pool. I'm not talking about the pool. You should be peeing in pools 0% of the time. 0.0. There's no way, man. You can't do it in a pool. Get out of here. Can't do it in a pool. Somebody pees in my pool. That's the whole thing. And here's the other thing too. Is people say there's like a dye or something like that in a pool that you can tell. No. There's not. Because I would do that. I would put that in my, like somebody pees in my pool, especially a kid. It's like, no, get out of here. What else do we got? Anything? Oh, I'm 100% with you on that. That's absolutely great. Like camping and stuff like that. Feel bad for women because then you got to do this whole thing. You got a whole thing that you got to do. Oh my God, you kidding me? Let's see here. Anything else? Love a good shower story. But are you a short or a long shower guy? I can't, like, my wife, she is just in and out. She's quick, right? Me, I'm in there like 20 minutes. It's my think tank. Like, I have to shower. And because it's like, I sit there, not only for the standpoint of, it's good, to stay clean and everything like that. But what I'm saying is that from a standpoint of just like 20 minutes, and it has to be totally quiet. Like, I don't put any music on. I don't like anybody in there. It's my think tank. I let the water run over, and you start thinking about your day. Your brain starts moving, all that kind of stuff. 100%. Like, I'll be in there 20, 25 minutes. My wife, 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes tops in the shower. She is not a long shower person. My kid will move into the bathroom for 30 minutes easily. Music's on. Hanging out. I can hear him talking to people. I don't know if he's got his phone in there. I don't know if he's watching highlights. I don't know if he's watching Instagram or whatever he's watching. I don't know what he's doing. But my kid, if he says to me, hey, let's go get breakfast like a Saturday morning. Yeah, let's go get some breakfast. All right. Yeah, that'd be great. I'll just jump in the shower. Jump in the shower? You live in the shower for like 30 minutes. Like, I might go 15 minutes. Maybe I'm a 15-minute shower guy. My kid's in there 30, easy. My wife, maybe 5, tops. I know that person. And that's a young lady saying that. Hold on a second. Hold on. There we go. See? See, that's the person I shower in that same shower. And now I'm in trouble. All right, anything else today? I miss anything? Did somebody just talk about what? You put it up there. You think I'm not going to put that up there if you did it? Let's see. Hi, Kyle. 19 months, 2 years remodeling your master bedroom, 7,000 pounds of concrete. Pull that. I got the right. It's great. 19 months. Oh my gosh. That's incredible. We did ours. I don't know. We've redone everything in this house. My God. All right. I think that'll do a little Caddyshack reference. Very nice. All right. That'll do it for today for a Wednesday edition of the show. I hope you had a great time. If you missed anything, all you have to do, go to YouTube, go to John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Please, please, please subscribe. Please tell your friends and enemies and make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Therefore, then when I replay this whole thing, I will have chapters underneath it and you can watch however you wish. So make sure that you do that. Let me also show you before we get out of here. Bay Area Sports Collective. They put the press release out today, and so that is legit. Bay Area Sports Collective is a great place to watch my show. Tom Tolbert's show is on there. Paulie Mack's show is on there from Murph and Mack. By the way, they do Murph and Mack Mondays too, so they actually get back together on Mondays. You can't miss that. Tommy is going to be on this afternoon at 1:00. You can check that out, and please subscribe to Bay Area Sports Collective as we continue to get more and more things going on there. Also, quick promotion, I am writing that piece right now. It is not quite done. 2024 was the year of the wide receiver. 2025, realizing that titles are won on the inside, not the outside. So these guys are getting cut and restructured and all those kind of things. There's Debo up there. It's already been done. Brandon Ayuk, all that conversation. So we'll get into that conversation. It's a great piece that I will finish up later on today as well. If you're listening or want to listen on the podcast, you want to take us with you, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. We're going to get off the air here in about 60 seconds later. We'll click on that. Thanks to our good friends on Instagram watching at John Lund Radio and on X as well. Let me double check all the people there. I got started a little late today on Instagram. I apologize for that. I did. Ooh, a lot of people on Instagram today. So thanks for watching on Instagram today. Thanks for watching on X today at John Lund Radio. Make sure that you subscribe, hit that thumbs up, hit the like button for us as well. And make sure that because with the like thing, I guess the algorithm, it helps the algorithm. So that's really, really cool. But please make sure you subscribe there. And please have your alerts on because not only do we do the show at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday and 10 a.m. on Saturdays, but also we put all sorts of stuff throughout the day up. So make sure that you have your alerts on. Then you won't miss anything. Like when I write and finish that piece on the blog, I always put a video with it. Plus we do shorts. If news breaks like it did on Saturday with Debo, we are up on those. So you got to make sure they hit that up as well. I think we have covered everything. Thanks to Dr. 𝐸𝐵𝐿. Thanks to Bay Area Sports Collective. Make sure that you're doing that, Bay Area Sports Collective, that you're subscribing on that channel as well. One last check of the chat line to make sure that everybody is having a wonderful day. Yeah, see, that's a great thing to be learning today. We should do that at the end of the show. What did you learn on the show? What I learned: Pete Rose had a lifetime ban. He's dead. The ban is over. Yeah, that's my theory. It was a lifetime ban. He no longer has life, you know? He no longer has life. I mean, doesn't that make sense, right? Anyway, all right. That's it. Everybody have a great day. Antonio, just seeing you for the first time. Good to see you. Yeah, look at that. You're right. Right before the show, I make sure that I do. So if I'm ever late, it's because I got to run in there real quick, because I got to make sure that I do that, because I do. I sit here we're 2:34 into the show. For the love of God, man. All right. Hey, I enjoy it. What kind of shot are you taking there, Fozzie? What kind of shot are you taking there? Whiskey? Take a little bourbon shot? Very nice. Very, very cool. All right. Everybody have a wonderful Wednesday. Make sure you subscribe. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, Bay Area Sports Collective, and JohnLundUnleashed.com. We'll have new pieces up, archives on shows, archives on podcast, and I'll get that new blog for you up shortly. Everybody have a great Wednesday.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at JohnLundUnleashed.com. JohnLundUnleashed.com.
Goodbye!